What's up, everyone? Happy Thursday to everybody. It's GameFace episode 45. We got some crazy stuff going on here right now.
I don't know what's happening in this building, but it sounds like they're strangling goats out in the hallway.
Yeah, the studio next to us is having some fun. We've also been having issues with Twitch for some reason. I don't know. The stream keeps going up and down. You guys seem to be getting it okay, which is good, and ultimately the archive is what matters the most. So we're just going to trudge forward with the show. Matt, I think we can officially call this month Beta Month 2016.
Yeah, there's been a lot of unofficial releases.
Yeah, I mean, it's just beta insanity. We're going to talk about a couple of them today. They just announced today as well that Mirror's Edge Catalyst is having one like next week. Battleborn's going on right now. We're going to talk about that. Doom starts in a couple days. Yeah. I mean, it's beta insanity, people. Lots of good stuff. It's really good to see everyone be able to get their hands on these games early instead of just the press. It definitely makes for better conversation on Sifted and all their various websites as well. So it's pretty exciting to see kind of that change. Really, this gen has brought that change. Like, it didn't really happen last gen at all.
It's a lot easier to get this stuff to people now.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's just been a shift in general in the industry to be more inclusive with your consumers, the people who are actually paying for your stuff. And I think that's great. I think the more people who can get their hands on this stuff before it comes out, the better for the game. The better for people making informed purchase decisions as well. So, good things happen in this gen. The other thing I like, too, is not having to have a debug to review games. Like, that's been a huge shift for us as journalists. Like, it used to have this extra console that would just play debug code, and now we don't need that anymore. Like, we just, basically, they send us a code, it's up on Xbox Live or PlayStation Network. It also ensures that they don't have to have this crazy debug program anymore that they used to have, and yeah, just lots of things changing. You don't
lose out on all your achievements.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, now I actually get my achievements when I play games for review, which is great. So, a couple things I want to talk about off the top before we get to the big six. First of all, Quantum Break, Microsoft's big push over the last couple months has been this integration of Windows and Xbox. Mm-hmm. And, people have been complaining about it. People who have an Xbox are pissed off that people on PC are going to be able to play the games. I have no idea why. I mean, I guess it does kind of lessen the
reasons to own the Xbox One are few and far between these days.
And they're getting slimmer every day. And so something happened with Quantum Break where basically how it worked is if you bought the game, you got a PC download code with the Xbox One version of the game. Well, what's happening is, and who's going to go and play it again on PC? I mean, I could have told him it was a dumb idea from the beginning. But what's happening is that people, instead of playing the PC version, are now selling the download codes for the PC version on places like eBay. And basically they're going for anywhere from $20 to $35 a pop. Microsoft is going to lose its ass on this. I'm sure it thought of this.
But no one cared, I guess?
How do you not care about losing all that revenue? What's the upside here, Matt, for this? I don't get it.
I think they just wanted people. I guess they thought people would just automatically upgrade to Windows 10 to play a better looking version of it, but it doesn't even really look any better on the PC.
It doesn't. They're having huge problems with it. A patch isn't coming for another couple weeks for the PC version of Quantum Break. I don't know what the deal is with that. I mean, obviously, it's a Microsoft game and it's not running well on Windows. That's a problem.
And I'm do I understand it right? You can't download the videos on PC? Like, you have to stream them?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. So I'm sure they'll probably change that too. But I can't understand the strategy behind this. Like, look, I get, PC. You want people to play PC games. You want people to... But it just... It makes no sense to me.
As with pretty much all of Microsoft's PC gaming decisions recently, I don't even have a theory. I don't know what they're doing.
I mean, the only thing that this is, to me, it just keeps pointing to that there's never going to be another Xbox. That's the only logical decision I can come to from all of this. Like
some kind of weird, get used to it, because this is what you're going to have to move to soon enough.
I mean, are they so desperate to get people to upgrade to Windows 10 that they're willing to lose, $60 on a video game?
Maybe.
How can that be, though?
Maybe they didn't think people... Why wouldn't they pay for I don't know.
I mean, anecdotally, my mom still hasn't upgraded to Windows 10, even though it's free, Because
I haven't upgraded to Windows 10.
I have.
I don't trust them.
All my machines I've upgraded to, and it works great. Like, I love it. I have no problems with it at all. It works just as well as Windows 7 for me. But my mom's like, I'm afraid I'll lose, like, my bookmark. Like,
Right. Parent things.
They have no understanding how stuff works. I try at Christmas. I was like, come on, let me do it for you. Don't touch that laptop, Shane. I was like...
Trust me, of all things that will carry over, the bookmarks will carry over. You can't you can't get rid of your bookmarks if you want to.
Exactly. Well, if you're using Chrome, it's like it doesn't matter what.
Right.
You can use any computer and your bookmarks come up as long as you're logged in. So I'm just at a complete loss. And to me, again, at the end of all this, the only thing that makes sense is they're getting out of the console business. And they're just trying to get all their customers from Xbox to start playing games on the PC so that when they do finally announce this, it doesn't come as some huge shock. Mm-hmm. I just don't know any other way to...
like the next Xbox will basically just be a PC.
Be a PC,
like
and then it'll run Windows 10, and like... I don't know. But it's insane to me. The whole project, the whole program is insane. The fact that they would just give away copies of Quantum Break, their big exclusive release for Xbox One.
Like people who bought Quantum Break got a nice, little extra money out of it. They only paid half price for the game.
Exactly. Like at the end of the day, they paid half price, and then Microsoft is losing that $60 on that PC version where they're selling it to people who may have bought it on eBay. So I don't know. Again, and then the fact that Phil Spencer has poured cold water all over the idea of upgrading the Xbox One. I don't know. And then today, GameStop comes out and says new consoles imminent. The CEO of GameStop today...
Imminent consoles.
Talking to stockholders who are probably freaking out because, if I had stock in GameStop, I'd probably be freaking out too, and I'd sell it. But he said today that new consoles are imminent. He didn't say what or which company.
Gen. I mean, 5 years used to be we just came off the longest gen in console gaming. 5 years seems pretty fast.
Really fast.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think it's going to be a case where you're not going to be able to play your old games on the new hardware. I just think you're going to have added advantages if you do get the new hardware.
So you think will the PlayStation 4K end up being the PlayStation 5?
No. I think they'll probably just call it the PlayStation 4, honestly. I don't even think they'll change the branding of it at all. Because if you do that, then there's that whole confusion over...
Yeah, but I think if you've got games that are actually, how long until a game only runs on that? Like the new 3DS thing.
Yeah, I mean, right now there's 4 games that only run on the new 3DS that won't play on... although people would argue Hyrule Warriors doesn't really work on the old 3DS.
Technicality on that.
Yeah, but they say it does. So, I don't know. GameStop saying that's a pretty good sign that some stuff is happening.
Yeah.
They're not going to just go on an investors meeting call and just
I wonder if we'll hear about it at E3.
We have to. I mean...
That's talking about new systems, not just upgraded systems, but new systems at this point, that's fast.
Yeah.
That's real fast.
Yeah. I mean,
3 years into the gen.
Yeah.
Not even 2.5 years. 3 years this fall.
Yeah.
That's fast.
It is really fast. And one thing I would say, too, is, if you're thinking about buying a new console, I would wait.
Yeah, don't do that yet.
I mean, MPDs came out today, right before we came, so we're not going to talk about it on the show today. But, of course, Sony won again. Surprise, surprise. But I'll be interested to watch MPDs for the next, 2 weeks, or 2 months, to see if people are like, wait a minute, why would I buy new hardware right now when... these other consoles could come out, and suddenly I'll have the old piece of hardware, blah blah blah.
Especially when the current consoles really aren't that low in price at this point. $350 is not a bargain really at this point. You can get 1 or 2 games with it, but that's not like impulse buying. Like a $99 PS2 used to be. That's still a major purchase, and for something that might be obsolete in 2 years, that's crazy.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah.
Who knows? The rate things are going right now, it could be way less than that.
Well, they're going to argue very strongly, I think, that the 4K does not make your existing PS4 obsolete.
Right.
But I don't know how many people are going to believe that.
Yeah.
It's hard. It can be hard to see these games run better on this other thing that also has the same name as what you have, but you just have the crappy one.
Right. All right, so we'll move on from that. The next little topic we're going to talk about off the top of the show is Rockstar sued by what most people would probably say was their ace developer. Because, look, the Housers are really hands-on for people of their stature and for people who have their jobs and their positions. But they don't do everything. And so what's happened is an old employee was basically, he says, he went on a sabbatical and came back and his key card didn't work anymore. And, if we even had this story on Sifted about him leaving. It was like last year or whatever. And it was billed as like a sabbatical. Like, that's sort of like what made the rounds in the press. It wasn't that he was leaving the company, and it wasn't that he was let go or laid off or anything like that. And so he comes back to work after his quote-unquote sabbatical. His keycard doesn't work, which is everyone's worst nightmare. If you work at any job that uses keycards, the day you come to work and your card doesn't work anymore.
Especially after a vacation.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's turning into this he said, she said thing, where he's saying that he left for a sabbatical, thought everything was cool, came back, he's canned. Rockstar is saying, oh no, you knew, like when you left, that we were basically parting ways with you and getting rid of you. And the problem is that the guy who's embroiled in this feels that he's owed $150 million in royalties.
Wow.
So just put that feather in your cap for a second. And just think about the money that some of these developers are making on really successful games. It also came out this week that Grand Theft Auto 5 has generated like $3 billion or $2 billion. I can't remember which it was.
I think it was 2.
$2 billion so far.
And a huge chunk of that is post-sale, like DLC
500
stuff.
million from Grand Theft Auto Online they've generated already. 500. That's more than most publishers hope to generate from their base game.
Yeah, or from like their yearly schedule.
Yeah, like their entire financial report for a year. They've made that off Grand Theft Auto Online. So think about that. 2 billion, that's 2,000 millions. It just boggles the mind. The money.
Well, that's the thing. The billion versus million thing. Like, you don't think about how because like a million seconds is like, what is that, like 3 weeks?
Yeah.
And a billion seconds is 3 months?
Yeah.
Or something like that?
It's insane.
Oh, no, a million seconds is 3 months, and a billion seconds is 30 years.
Right, yeah.
That's what it is.
It's a huge, like, people don't realize.
It's like, if you're a billionaire versus a million, like, it's not even in the same
league.
solar system.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's crazy.
And so, $2 billion on this game. This guy's looking for $150 million, which works out to a very small percentage of what's there, but still, that's a lot. And so, in the course of discovery for this case, a lot of the paperwork is starting to come out, and some email exchanges between the Hausers and him have come out where basically it's been revealed that he bailed out Red Dead Redemption from development hell. He wasn't even working on the game. He was working on a Grand Theft Auto game.
The game, let's not forget that after it came out, Rockstar then fired that whole team, that whole San Diego team.
Yeah. Well, did they?
Yeah, they all got laid off immediately after that game shipped. I remember being at the GDC Awards, and it won, like, Action Adventure Game of the Year or something, and a bunch of guys who made it were there, but none of them would come up to accept the award because they didn't work for Rockstar anymore. And like they're like, thanks, like we didn't,
They just raise their hand.
We got fired after this got made, but I'm glad you like it. Bye. Like, that was it. Like, it was literally it. Like, it was crazy.
Well, the Hausers aren't going to fire themselves.
No.
Even though if you read those emails, it appears that they were the project managers on that project from afar, mind you. They're in like Scotland or wherever.
And they're also managing. I think they did a very similar thing with L.A. Noire.
Yeah.
They seem to be pretty good at pulling troubled productions out of the mire.
Team Bondi was in Europe, though, right?
Australia.
Oh, yeah, there's a big difference between Europe and Australia.
Yes, the other side of the planet.
Yeah, exactly. I think Australia's on the other side of the planet from everything.
If you'd like to be more part of the global game development community, you should get off your island and push it closer.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
So, there's evidence. There's these email exchanges between, I think it's Sam Hauser and this developer, where he's begging this guy to bail him out with Red Dead and jump on the project and save it, because there was just a myriad issues that they were having with the game. So this guy, by all accounts, saved Red Dead Redemption, which ended up being a great game. Obviously, he's the mind behind the Grand Theft Auto games. You can't praise him enough for that. I mean, obviously, he does a great job with those projects. So, here's the fear, is they let this guy go. What happens to Rockstar's games?
I don't know.
Do they suddenly lose that special sauce?
They must have other people in there
that
have sort of a similar, I don't, that's the thing, is we don't know anything about Rockstar's internal culture.
Yeah.
They're so private and so quiet about stuff.
Yeah.
Also, I should correct myself, that was the DICE Awards that happened with Red Dead Redemption. I mean, I have to figure that, like, someone in there knows how to do things the way the Hausers like them done, and they'll just hand it off to them. I mean, because they wouldn't change the man's key card if they didn't have a plan to replace him. I would
Yeah,
say.
you would think. I mean, one thing you can't say is that the Housers are dumb.
Right.
Like,
you don't make $2 billion with
one product,
like just making it up as you go.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so I would assume it'll be fine. Like we wouldn't notice anything.
I don't know, man. Because here's the thing about Rockstar is like.
Because the way they're seeing it, I'm sure they say, well, this is, he was good, but he's also someone we've had to bail out in the past from that Red Dead Redemption thing,
But that wasn't him, though. He wasn't working on Red Dead.
So they sent him to fix it.
Yeah. When the Housers
couldn't get the
project, yeah, he was the guy the ringer that they sent in to
then it
fix
just
the
makes
game.
you wonder what the hell happened that they thought he was no longer worth keeping around.
Exactly. Well, I guess if you
then you start wondering, is it like an Infinity Ward situation where they just don't want to pay him what they owe him?
Right. And so if you do read into some of the court documents a little more closely, they're saying that there were disciplinary issues with him. And look, those guys have huge egos. I have a friend who worked with the Housers, and he said that they were insufferable. Like, literally the worst people he's ever worked with in his entire life. Before then, during then, and after then, like 8 or 9 years later, he's still never worked with people as big of jerks as the Housers were. Hard to argue with their methods, with the results that they get. But, their reputation precedes them. You talk to anyone in the industry, one, they're crazy aloof. Like, you'll never get an interview with them or see them at events or anything. Like, they don't care.
Because they don't need anyone.
Right. And so, for them to say that he was a malcontent and he was a problem at the company, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Because they're notorious for being exactly that in the workplace.
Well, also, they're notorious for not tolerating that.
Right.
Like, if he really was a problem in that regard, like, how was he even there that long?
Yeah. And going back to the special sauce thing, like, if this guy is their ringer, and, Rockstar's games have this something to them. Like, one, they're really good at figuring out what people want, but two, they're also very good at pegging the poignant moments from an era or a place in time. Like, a lot of people make games set in the Old West, but none of them were as good as Red Dead Redemption or seem quite as authentic. A lot of people try to make modern day games and try to bring pop culture references into them, and they always fall flat on their face. Rockstar's games freaking nail it every time, and so it's hard to quantify the ability to do something like that, is what I'm trying to say. And if this is the guy who was able to do that, give him the $150 million. Like, I don't know.
You still have a lot more left.
Yeah, exactly. A lot more left.
Like $150 million is like, off of that is like...
It's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, you may not even really feel the need to bend over and pick it up if you drop it.
I mean, look, the Housers have more money than they or the next 10 generations of their family could ever possibly spend. So I do kind of maybe have a problem with them maybe saying it's a greed thing, but then again, my buddy who worked with them said that they were tightwads and would push back on re-recording voiceover, which may cost you $1,000 to bring that voiceover guy back in. Well,
that's the thing is everybody talking about those rich guys are so cheap about everything. Well, that's why. How do you think they got rich?
Yeah, exactly.
Not spending the money on anything. Like that's part of it, and it's going to be you're kind of running into this thing where like once you have you're dealing with that level of money. Sometimes it's tempting to try to sort of brush off the people that you owe a lot of that success to. And I think there's a lot of rumors that fly around that something similar happened at Mojang with Notch when he got his payout, and like the two guys that built Minecraft with him, he tried to give him like $150,000 out of like his $3 billion like Microsoft sale, and they both said, "Go fuck yourself.
I'll see you in court."
Yeah, and then he moved to LA and bought a mansion in Hollywood because I guess no one wanted to talk to him anymore. I don't know.
And now he has friends that he pays for.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's what it comes down to with what's going on with him in L.A.
But
and you're starting to see weird tweets from him now, too, talking about how depressed he is because he realizes he's surrounded with people who are just there for his money.
Yeah.
Welcome to L.A., brother.
Welcome to Los Angeles. Everybody in this town wants to be rich and famous, but...
no one wants to do anything to get it.
It's way better just to be rich.
You're right.
It's like, you don't want the fame. Like, the fame is what's killing him because everybody knows who he is and knows where to find him.
Right. Well, they also know that his house is like the party house.
Right, because there's an E3 party there every year now. And all this.
It's not even that. It's like he has parties there like every night of the week. And like all the Hollywood hangers-on who have nowhere to go and want free booze and God knows whatever else.
Yeah. If you're not being paid to show up to be at a party somewhere else in Hollywood, you just go to Notch's.
And free party favors all night long. So, Yeah, I don't know where this is going to end up. It's going to be really public, which we're going to get. We already got a little bit of a glimpse inside Rockstar, which
is amazing. Like,
rare.
No, you never get to find.
And I have a feeling that Rockstar may eventually get into a position where it is really nervous about more of its behind the curtain stuff coming out, and it's just like, you know what, pay the guy. And it's probably the whole purpose of his case. He probably never expected it to go to court. He's like, I'll ask for the $150 that they may or may not owe me. We'll negotiate. I'll probably get $100. Poor me.
Yeah. Or even if you just get $50.
Yeah.
You know, like, pretty good.
I'd take one.
But it is hard to look at, you look at the revenue of that game and you're like, I did that.
Yeah.
And I got what?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you did get paid.
I'm sure you got paid, but it's like you got a sabbatical and they change the locks on you. Like that's like I can understand why he's pissed in that regard. Who knows how much money they effectively really do owe him? Probably more than that, really.
Because people will look at that and say, "Oh, you're complaining about $150 million," but what you don't realize is that the Housers probably made $300 million on that game at least
each.
Each. And so when you get put in that context, it's like, yeah, $150 million to make video games, that's awesome, but these guys took all of it. And they're not doing hardly anything on the game anymore. I'm the ringer who comes in and fixes stuff that they screw up.
They've got the vision, but he's got to tighten the bolts.
Right.
He's got to build the building basically.
So before we move on, just one last anecdote. My friend who I mentioned earlier worked at Rockstar. He said one time they had a line for the game that they could not cut from the game, and they did not have a clean take. They had like microphone pops the day that they recorded the guy. And the guy was like, I'll come back in, I'll re-record it, I'll give you half my day rate or whatever. And the Housers just happened to be in the office that day. And they came in and told my buddy, go through the rest of his voiceover to find the words you need and patch it together.
Wow.
Yeah. Just to show you. Like, now
that's cheap.
This was 8 years ago. Look, even then, they were rolling in the dough. So, yeah, I could see why they would...
post GTA 3, you're good.
You're good to go, yeah. And so...
You can afford another VO session.
Yeah, just so you know what kind of thing we're dealing with here, that's where it's at.
Yeah,
so,
like that, assuming it's typical scale, you're probably talking about $600.
Right, yeah. His day rate was probably maybe $2,000.
Yeah.
Maybe $1,000.
If that, if he was big, you give it, but you're probably looking at about $1,500 for a day rate for a standard voice actor.
Yeah.
So that's not that much money when you think about how much it costs to make a Grand Theft Auto game.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I would work for a lot less than a day. Let's get to the big six. Star Fox Zero. I've been playing it.
Hopefully that's not a preview of the score.
No,
I haven't played it.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's good.
Yeah, so I have to be very careful about what I say today.
Still some embargo roadblocks.
Yeah, so the preview embargo is up, and I got a 2-page list of stuff I could and could not talk about. Most of it was very level specific, or extras, or things that you unlock and things like that. So I can't really talk about stuff like that, but I can talk about the game as a whole. I am on the last level of the game, and I have fought the final boss now about 15 times, and still don't feel like I'm anywhere close to beating him. So the first thing I would say about this game is that it's not easy. So remember the whole dust up over them putting like the easy difficulty in the game? I can see now why they would do that, because you look at this game, it looks like a kid's game, and it's not a kid's game. The first couple levels, kids could probably get through, but after that, it's way too complicated for kids. Truth be told, it is very similar to Star Fox 64 in the controls and how you play, but I would argue that most kids probably couldn't handle Star Fox 64 either. So, again, I got to tap dance around a lot of the stuff I want to talk about with this game. But I think the first thing I would say is if you were hoping for another Star Fox 64, you're going to be pretty happy. Because it's basically the same game in a lot of ways. It's actually kind of a little bit like the Ratchet and Clank remaster that just came out. How it was based on the original, but it expanded on it a little bit and kind of brought new elements into it.
It's more of a remake.
Yeah. This game has a lot of the same stages, planets, the structure, the gameplay systems are all identical to Star Fox 64. I was surprised I didn't pick it up right away and was a master, because I was really good at Star Fox 64 back when it came out. And it took me a little while to get over the hump with this game.
Even the dialogue's the same.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it took me a little while to get over the hump and start getting to where I was getting good at this game. And again, I would say it's definitely not for kids at all. They may be able to fiddle around with the first couple levels and have some fun, but I think eventually they're going to hit a wall where they're not going to be able to make any progress.
Yeah, I mean, Star Fox 64 was like that, too. It was like, the second half of that game is hard.
Yeah, I didn't find it to be that hard, though. Like,
it's hard if you're, like, 8.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. Like, if you were a kid, I think it would be really difficult.
It's not like, oh, there's animals in it and stuff. Like, let Johnny play it. It's like, no, Johnny's going to be crying.
That's what... But it does... I mean, you look at the game. If I were a parent, and I didn't know a lot about video games, I'd see that game and I'd be like, I'm going to buy this for my kids. But I would tell you right now, anyone watching or listening to this, do not buy this game for your kids. Buy it for yourself. So yeah, I was shocked to see how similar this game is to Star Fox 64. Like, it really is not an entirely brand new game.
Not necessarily a bad thing, because it's been a long time, making brand new Star Fox games that have been disappointing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather another Star Fox 64 than, say, another Star Fox Assault or another Star Fox Adventures.
Well, here's the thing. So this game's been delayed a couple times, and I have a feeling that this game maybe was going to stray a little farther off the path, and then I think people saw that and were like, wait a minute, this doesn't look like the Star Fox I want. I think maybe they kind of went back to the drawing board and kind of morphed it back into this more traditional form, for lack of a better way to describe it.
Kind of unusual for Nintendo.
Yeah. So there are some changes to it, though. The boss fights are all different. Like, they're all brand new bosses in the game. There's a couple brand new vehicles, actually. There's that weird walker thing, which, it's so bad. And then there's a couple ships that you get aside from the R-Wing. And in all honesty, there's the walker. In all honesty, the walker segments and the segments with the other ships are the worst parts of the game. Like, the Landmaster tank and the R-Wing stuff is fine, great nostalgia-inducing, makes that smile come across your face when you first start playing it. These sections of the game I have no idea who tested this and thought it was a good idea to leave them in. I have no idea why they would include these parts in there.
So the section where you can transform is bad? You're breaking my heart.
Yeah, that is a tough thing to take. Look, these parts are okay because you can transform and you can start playing as the R-Wing if you want, but there are indoor sections.
There's forced sections.
Indoor sections where you're forced to play either as the walker or as the other plane, so, as it were, or the other aircraft.
The other craft.
Yeah. And they're the worst parts of the game. Like, the camera, trying to use that walker is terrible. The
first-person stuff doesn't help at all. It's not...
So here's the thing about this game. So... the first person, you may think it's optional. It's not optional at all. There are boss fights and other sections of the game where you are forced to use the gamepad to target. And not even just target. In some cases, even fly and navigate in that first-person perspective. Now, one thing I will say is that generally the accuracy, when it's calibrated correctly, is great. Like, you can even use it when you're just flying the R-Wing in general to fine-tune your shots. And it works great in that case, but the problem is that it constantly becomes uncalibrated. So to calibrate it, you have to click down the left stick, and it'll recenter it. And once you've recentered it, it works amazing. But as you play the game, it starts to get loose and come off until the point where your reticule will actually start being at the bottom or the top of the screen. And you have to click the stick, and it'll center right in the center of the screen again. It starts to get annoying, to be honest with you. And so the gamepad stuff, it isn't just optional. Almost all the boss fights require you to use the pad because there's very specific spots that you have to shoot.
You have to hit, yeah.
And a lot of times they're obscured because they're turned one direction or whatever. If you really want to be accurate with it, you have to use the motion controls to target accurately. And then there are other parts of the game where it jumps back and forth from these weird camera angles. It'll go from the traditional angle, which is just behind your ship or whatever, and then it'll go to this weird third-person camera angle. And honestly, I'm glad that happens sometimes because it actually clues you in that you need to look down at the gamepad because other times it never tells you. You're just like, wait a minute, why can't I make any progress? And you look down at the gamepad and instantly you're like, oh, I'm supposed to be using the screen on the gamepad to get through this part of the game. But at least in these third-person sections, like, immediately your brain says, oh, use the gamepad. And so it's this very weird thing where there's this crazy action going on your big TV screen, but you're just looking at this little gamepad screen from a first-person's perspective, shooting that one little weak spot on the boss for like the whole boss fight. And then there's some where it switches back and forth. It'll go from that third person, and then like the boss will go for a certain attack, where it'll switch back to the regular camera angle, but then like you're all discombobulated trying to figure out like which, because the other part too is that like a lot of times the camera will be way far away, and like your Landmaster tank will be like the size of a dime on your TV screen, and you can't even tell if it's facing like forwards or backwards. And so you'll have to start controlling the Landmaster tank, but you don't know which way it's facing until the camera gets down, and by that time like the boss has already delivered like its blow or whatever. This game to me is just very un-Nintendo-like. And look, it hasn't been developed by Nintendo. It was developed by Platinum. And to me, it appears that this game was developed by Platinum's, like, C team. Like, this isn't even up to, like, Platinum game levels, and it's certainly not up to Nintendo game levels. There's just, like, all the little quirks that I mentioned, it's like we were saying about Rockstar, how they have that special sauce. Like, a lot of times Nintendo games have that, where everything is just like, maybe you don't care about the subject matter of the game, but you can still appreciate the workmanship of the game and the quality and the polish of the game. This game just doesn't really have that. And I'm playing final retail code. This is a retail disc that I'm playing. This isn't some download code that's going to be updated or whatever. A lot of the stuff I'm talking about are things that are not going to be fixed in a patch. It's just like the core of the way the game was designed. Another thing I would say is like there's really no story in this game at all. Like no cinemas. Like there's an opening cinema that's like pre-rendered or whatever. But like even in Star Fox 64, there were like scenes here and there where like they showed them back at the base or whatever. Right. They were like rendered like real cinemas. There's nothing like that here. The only story you get are from the little transmissions that pop up on the screen. Now, one thing I would say is that the traditional Star Fox levels on this game are a ton of fun. Like, and here's another, this is one of the ships I was talking about. Like, this little robot comes out, and like, this is what happens. You can't judge, like, the angles in this game for some reason. You can't figure out if, like, that little robot you're dropping out that you have to send a hack actually is on the platforms. Like, there's just something off about it. But
that is not very Nintendo, then.
No, it's not. And the one thing I would say, though, is that like the traditional R-Wing levels and the Landmaster tank levels are just as good and fun as you remember them. And they make up probably better than half of the game, I would say. But the problem is that like the way the mission structure is set up in this game, you have to play all the levels to get to the levels that you want to play. So you eventually, you're forced, you have to play through some of the levels with the walker and the other vehicles that aren't all that much fun. So here's some positives, though, other than the fact that I really like the R-Wing and the Landmaster tank stuff. The sound in this game is really cool. Like, they've really integrated the audio on the gamepad to kind of create, like, this 3D audio experience. And I wish it was something that more games did on the Wii U, to be honest with you. Like, for instance, when those little transmissions come up from your team members, like, the audio will be switched to one side on the gamepad, like, depending on which side they're talking on. So it creates, like, this kind of 3D thing. I mean, you're also hearing the surround sound all around you, but you're hearing the voice transmissions out of your gamepad, and they're kicked to one side or the other, like, whenever the transmissions come through. You can also turn on a setting so you get the audio through your TV set, but by default, it's set to come up out of your gamepad, and I like that. I think it works really well. Technically, look, everybody can see the game and see that it's not bleeding edge tech. I still would argue that there are some pretty incredible moments in the game where you're like, okay, now I can see where they're spending some of their resources on the real-time graphics in the game. But I'm not done with it. There's apparently a bunch of stuff that I haven't seen yet, that I haven't experienced. So, look, I'm not totally dooming the game or anything, but there are certainly...
Just be aware of what you're walking into.
Yeah, there are some concerns with this game, to be sure. I also have not started playing Star Fox Guard yet. That came with it. Hopefully I can polish off Star Fox Zero in the next day or two and move on to Star Fox Guard. But so far, Little bit of good, little bit of bad. I mean, I could probably say pretty confidently right now that I'm not enjoying it as much as Star Fox 64, which is a shame. So many years later, in a game that basically just apes the original game.
It's a cool shot, though.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, every once in a while, there's like parts of the game where you're like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But then you realize, like, the game really has, like, some of the objects in the game have no shadows, and, like...
Then you're going to have to play the walker again.
Yeah. And it's just, like, some of the graphics are just really crude. Like, you know, a lot of games, like, just dumb stuff. Like, okay, here's, like, a pole going into the ground. Well, a lot of games will have, like, shrubbery or whatever around the base of the pole. Not here, man. That polygon is just jammed straight into the ground. Like, you can just tell that this was a rush job by some other studio that's not Nintendo. Like, that's really what it comes down to. And, I don't know if even saying it's a rush job is appropriate considering how long it's been in development. But
yeah, it's been a while.
But look, if anyone's looking at this game to be like the savior of... See, here's the example I was talking about, how it switches to like a third-person perspective. So right now you're watching this, but what you don't realize is when you're playing this section of the game, you're not looking at the TV screen at all. You're looking down at the gamepad. So... I guess it looks a little more cinematic than people watching the TV screen, but if you're actually playing it, it just seems awkward because you're like squinting to see that little dinky screen on your gamepad, and it's like, you know, it's a boss fight. Like, there's lots of tension involved and whatnot. So, you know, my game eval will be out for this on the 20th, which I believe is next Wednesday. That's the embargo for it. We will definitely have our game eval due on embargo for this game. As you know, I've been playing it for a while already. So... we'll be good for embargo on this one. I just wanted to give my kind of initial impression / preview of the game. This isn't necessarily my review or anything, but those were kind of my initial impressions after spending, I don't know, I guess I played around 6 or 7 hours. I mean, the length is pretty much what you'd expect from Star Fox. There's incentive to go back and play it again. Every level that you play, you can earn medals playing those levels. It's like the old Star Fox. You get the gold medal on enough of them, you unlock stuff. There's branching paths, so there's certain parts of some levels where you can go left or you can go right, and the game does do a good job of telling you where they are because, like, Slippy will say, I'm going left, and so you're like, well, I guess I'm going right. So, and then if you do that, it'll actually take you to, like, new parts of the level. There's other parts of levels where if you go the right direction, it will actually open up a new planet for you to explore that you wouldn't be able to explore if you had just gone through the traditional way through the game. Again, just like Star Fox 64. So there is incentive to go back and play it to get better at it. It's pretty darn hard as it is in the later stages of the game, and this is coming from someone who's been playing this series for a long time. I don't know if I know I went back and played Star Fox 64 like a million times, but I think a big part of that was I was in awe of like polygonal graphics. It was like one of the first like N64 games. It was the first game that had rumble like ever. And there was a big novelty around that. I remember the first time, like, I blew up a boss with the rumble pack in, and I was like, oh my god, it's going to shake my feelings loose. Like, that's all gone now, though. Like, the awe of playing a polygonal video game that looks good is gone. Or the rumble thing is gone. Although I would say the force feedback in this game is excellent. So I wonder if they actually concentrated on that. Because it does kind of go the extra mile. And so I'm wondering if, like, internally they were like, this debuted the rumble pack and rumble in video and console games. Let's try to do something cool with it, because it does work really well in this. But yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody expected this to be, you know, a AAA hardware moving game. I think just from what we've seen of it so far, and I think I guess the best way I could put it is that probably everyone's impressions of this game are kind of on the money already. After playing it, like,
you kind of know what you're getting if you've watched it.
Yeah, there's no big revelation or anything, or it's not like a switch is flipped and all of a sudden it becomes like the Wii U's best looking game or best playing game or anything. So,
thus speaketh Father Shane.
Yeah, I'm already seeing the Father Shane hashtags in the chat. Yeah, every time I wear a black shirt now with a white undershirt, I guess I'm going to get it. So maybe I have to switch to a black undershirt when I wear.
You need to wear the Future Shane shirt one day, and I can tell that story.
I don't think I can fit into that shirt right now, Matt. Unfortunately, that was a much slimmer me that wore the Future Shane shirt.
Much slimmer, all of us.
Yeah, exactly. So.
That's a shirt he wore for his X-Play skit.
Yeah.
And, he used to just wear it, and we'd make fun of you because it had like these weird like epaulettes.
Oh, it was a crazy shirt.
It just looked like something that you'd like somebody from the Jetsons would wear. So we call Future Shane's today. It's like Shane from the future came to save us and all that stuff. Yeah. So
It turned into a thing.
Yeah, it was a good shirt.
Yeah. I don't even know if I still have it, to be honest with you. Maybe I'll just bring it in and hold it up next week or something. But so yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about with Star Fox Zero. Again, I got to be really careful about what I say about the game to make sure I don't break any sort of embargo. Game eval up on the 20th.
Because Nintendo's watching. We know you're watching.
Yep. Embargo up on the 20th. Game comes out on the 22nd. So you'll have a couple days to read everyone's reviews and kind of make an informed decision before you decide to pull the trigger on it. So let's move on to the next topic.
Mm-hmm.
Gears of War 4 multiplayer. So some footage leaked the other day.
Yep.
Somebody was at the event that they had and put the footage up.
Oops.
And that was taken down very quickly by Microsoft. But today the embargo did break for that event, and everything's kind of out there already.
So we were asking for more information, and we got it.
We did get it. We got, although I would argue, not very much new information.
No.
Because if you've played previous Gears of War games in multiplayer, it sure seems like you've already played this one.
Yeah.
I mean...
Looks very familiar.
So let's start talking about some of the things that were announced. Only 2 modes in the beta, and everyone's going to get to play this, or at least everyone who has Gears of War Ultimate Edition or whatever will get to play the beta very soon. I think there might be a little bit of an open beta period for everybody as well.
I would guess eventually
they should. At least I hope they do that.
Be wise, if only for stress testing.
Yeah. So only 2 modes. One is Team Deathmatch. Everybody knows what that is. The other one is called Dodgeball. And I do have to say I think this is a genius idea for a mode. So it's basically Team Deathmatch, except when you die, you're taken out of the pool of players. But if you kill somebody on the other team, one of your players is revived. So how it works is, like, for instance, it could be 4 against 1. And that one person manages to kill one of the other team. That gets 1 respawn for that team. So you're putting Q. When you die, you're putting Q.
So now it's 3 on 2.
Right. And then that tips the scales, and you kill another one of those guys, suddenly you're the team with 3, and the other team's a team with 2. So it creates like this kind of seesaw aesthetic. Like, I don't know how balanced it's going to be, but I think the idea sounds really
cool. Idea, yeah.
Yeah, I think it could work really well.
And it'll definitely work well in a game with, low team numbers and, just how Gears works, where it's like, every death is a big deal.
Yeah, 5v5. You lose a guy, it makes a big difference. So, let's see. There's a big focus on esports. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
Every competitive shooter
Must
at
be
this point.
2016.
Yeah. And in light of that, they are creating like tiers of players. So basically trying to create better ranked and matchmaking. So there's going to be tiers of players. Like, you have to work your way up to a tier before you jump into the next tier. They're hoping that will make the matchmaking better, because I'll be perfectly honest with you. Since Gears of War 2, I played Gears Online for like a few days because it is just a massacre.
Yeah.
People are so good at this game anymore that I can't compete.
Shotgun
roll. And, apparently at this event, the Coalition even mentioned shotgun rolls. And not in a derogatory way, was like, that's the way good players play.
Yeah, it sounds like they've really embraced the shotgun roll as kind of, one of the core elements of the game. Which I'm not really interested in.
I'm not either.
So.
The shotgun roll ruined Gears of War multiplayer for me. And look, I get it. It takes skill. You have to practice it and get good at it. But all it did was make it so everybody has to shotgun roll.
Right.
Because there's no good counter for it. So if either you learn how to do it or you just get destroyed.
Right. Also, it's kind of frustrating to get killed by something that looks that stupid.
It really does look stupid.
It reminds me of the old Battlefield days where everybody was dolphin diving everywhere.
Yeah,
There was just like whole teams of people just like flooping up and down like a bunch of fish.
People do that in Halo too. They just jump everywhere, so it's harder to shoot. I get that.
I get it. But
the shotgun roll was almost like a borderline glitch, though, that like people discovered, and so many people got good at it that they just didn't want to get rid of it, I think.
Yeah, well, because I remember early on, everyone was like, how would he shoot me when he was still rolling? This is like, well, that's how it was shotgun. It's called shotgun roll.
And so it looks like they're trying to even things out a little bit by creating these tiers. But what they're also doing is creating a brand new kind of bot match variant that is supposed to train you up, essentially. They're saying that the highest level of the bot matches will be equivalent to like an esports team. Like, if you can get good against these bots, then you'll be ready to play on an esports level. So that's the other thing. They're saying, these bots are supposed to help train people up, so to speak, so that they don't just get their asses handed to them over and over online. I doubt that's going to actually work.
That seems to be a stretch.
Yeah, big stretch.
Because people, I mean, even if you're just up against the most laborious shotgun roller in the world, people still think more creatively than AI.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, AI can't really reason. I mean, that's kind of where we're at with AI at this point. Like, it can use algorithms to come to a logical response about things, but reasoning is still kind of that wall that hasn't been broken through yet. Although they're getting there. Like, there are some computers now that can beat the best human players at chess. So
And Go.
Yeah. So,
which people thought was like 15, 20 years out.
Yeah. So it's getting close. But
you're probably not dealing with that kind of AI for Gears of War 4, I don't think.
Definitely not. Not when you have like 20 bots running around. Like, it's not going to be that crazy in depth.
Although I look forward to the day when that becomes like the new challenge. It's like, can an AI programmer design a Halo AI that can beat, the top esports players? That might be a fun challenge. Because I would think most esports players would be able to destroy an AI, even on top level.
Yeah. I mean, that's been my biggest disappointment of this generation, is that developers have not used this new hardware to make AI better. Enemies in games are still stupid as crap. Like, it's not. I can't see any difference. Like, it doesn't seem like they've dedicated anything to improving AI. And to me, that's what could make things way more realistic with games, even maybe more so than visuals. It's just the realistic interaction of another organism, which we're just not getting. Or still
just wish there was a little bit of thought given, like stuff like in the Division, where it's like, all right, there's 4 guys over there with heavy machine guns. I'm going to run at them with a club.
Yeah,
you're like just a little thought.
It's like that in every game, though. Yeah. It's just the way it is. They're on predetermined animation routines, and like they don't think. They're just like, if this happens, if X happens, then I do Y. If Y happens, then I do Z.
Yeah, and I mean, but then of course you can't really think of it too hard about that, and then you get into the whole, I mean, most players just want to get through and play it, and then of course you run into the problem of like, like, why is gunman number 439 running at Nathan Drake at this point? It's like, what makes you think you're the one?
He's gonna dodge all the bullets.
That's gonna do it. Like.
Yep. So let's see some other things. Mantling. There's assassinations. We've curated a couple of videos over the last few days of these very short, like 10-second clips showing the new assassinations in the game. Some of them are really cool, but the big change really to assassinations is that you can now do them over cover. So you can mantle.
I do like this change.
I love this change. You can mantle over objects and assassinate like somebody who's taking cover on the other side of the cover, which is great. You can also kind of mantle over them, and if someone's like not even in the cover, you can mantle over them and use your knife to assassinate. So,
and you can also grab them and pull them over and stab them on your side of the cover.
Yep, you can. So,
like there was always kind of an awkward
conceit with cover.
Yeah, but also kind of like the game didn't really have a way for you to deal with someone who was in cover that close to you.
It got ridiculous.
And it was, like melee was a little sketchy, and maybe you could get the chainsaw in or the bayonet, but maybe not. And then like, sometimes you get the shotgun roll out of it, but sometimes like it just, you just wouldn't hit them, and like,
or it just turns into this thing where you're both just popping your heads up over and over,
or you're like rolling past each other, and it just became comical. And like, this definitely seems to kind of, they've sort of solved one of the Gears problems with this, I think. Or, it looks like, and I don't know, obviously we need to see it in the wild more.
Yeah, some of the hands-on previews have said it's not easy to pull them off, which
it's
maybe
easy.
that's
I guess,
a good idea.
I saw the IGN one, the guy basically said, like, it's really easy to pull them over the cover, but the timing, because then you have to hit the Y button again to, like, stab them as they come over, and the timing on that is, like, there's no like prompt.
Oh.
Like it did, at least when I was watching, it didn't look like there was a prompt in their footage, and you just have to know when to do it. And if you don't, you just kind of pull them over, and now you're facing each other. So it's like, oh, gotta kill them.
And then it's awkward.
And you still have the advantage in that situation because you knew it was going to happen, and you're ready to to unload on them. But like, it's much better, obviously, to just kill them. But he was there was no footage of that happening, and the guy said, the guy VOing it said, like, I hope one day to get my timing down, and I can show you that then. Like, he's basically, I never got it to happen. I never did it. I never got it to work. So.
Well, there's the whole risk reward system with the assassinations, because while you're doing an assassination, you're a sitting duck, and people can shoot you while you're doing it. So, That's been a part of it all along. You can even see right there, like the mantling is way smoother than it used to be. Like it used to be this.
You'd have to hit the cover and then go over.
And it was always this awkward, like clunky animation. Now you just kind of zoom over top of cover, which is cool.
And I do like how much they're really emphasizing that it's a sequel to Gears of War 3.
Yeah,
Can we
they're ignoring Judgment.
not think about Judgment right now?
I feel bad for the people that made that game, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it was their idea, you know. Like, it was like,
Exactly.
we need another Gears of War. Okay, great.
You're going to pay us for that?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. They only showed one new weapon called the Drop Shot.
Mm-hmm. Which we've seen before.
Yeah. Actually, that one assassination was with the Drop Shot that came out like 2 days ago, I believe. But pretty cool weapon. I mean, they're known for being really creative with their armaments.
It's the only new thing so far. But it does seem to fit the world. You know, it fits in with the arsenal we already have.
Yep. Talked about esports already. There's going to be crazy spectator options for it, basically allowing you to flip through cameras. I'm assuming a very small portion of the people who buy Gears 4 is going to care about that, but it's there. Obviously they need to make it esports viable, I guess is the best way to put it. They've already put a lot into the original Gears with esports. They're going to try to continue that with Gears 4, obviously. It definitely helps giving games legs, I would say that. Free map packs. So all the map packs are going to be completely free.
Unusual.
Yeah, and I think 10 ships with the game. And then there'll be a first map pack like a month after release or something like that. And all of them free. Which is crazy.
But the reason for that is...
because there are cards in the
cards,
game.
I called it.
You did
I knew
call
there'd
it.
be cards.
You did call it.
Microsoft loves their cards.
Yep. Pretty much every Microsoft first-party game that has multiplayer has cards. And look, they're not the only
Or even
guilty
if you
party.
don't, Rise of the Tomb Raider had cards.
It's in pretty much every game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of become this vehicle to deliver microtransactions at this point. But yeah, it has it. And there's
I'm waiting until you can start like you're playing like Gears of War 4 and it drops like it's like, oh, you got a special card. You can use this for your character here. Or you could trade it in for this Ferrari in Forza Horizon 3. You're waiting to cross-pollinate. If it knows you have that other game in your library, you can,
and it could happen. It's probably going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Because all that would do is push people to play all those games more. It would just extend longevity for those games. I can see them doing that.
We can see that strategy. If we could only understand the strategy of Xbox and PC.
Yeah, like gouging me for like $5 at a time makes total sense. But like trying to get me to install Windows 10 to play a game I already own, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Let's see. Active reload's on a cooldown now.
Oh, so you can't do it over and over?
You can't just do it over and over again. They said it was like a 7 or 8 second cooldown in between active reloads, which I'm okay with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't active reload that often.
Yeah, I'm surprised that mechanic hasn't appeared in more games since Gears. Yeah. There's been a couple that have done it.
I actually asked Cliff that once. I'm like, how come more people haven't stolen that active reload thing?
Did they patent it?
No, he said I have no idea. He's like, I thought it would be like everybody stole the cover thing. And he admits they stole the cover thing.
Right.
Kill Switch.
Yeah,
but he's like, I figured that would do that. But I figured like active reload would be like how you reloaded guns and shooters from now on, and no one.
No, that is a really good idea.
It is really good, but maybe people just think it's too identified with this series. I mean, but it's like such a good idea.
It does. I mean, look, it does give yet another advantage to experienced players.
Yeah. Well, also, I wonder if maybe one other thing about it is like it makes it a lot harder to balance the game.
Yeah.
And Epic was really, really, really good at that.
Yeah.
And maybe you're just dealing with a level of talent in terms of being able to make something like that work.
Yeah.
Or people who just don't want to put in the time and the effort to something so minor.
Well, the one thing I forgot to mention about the executions is you can now execute enemies directly out of the roadie run. There's not that awkward transition from roadie run to stand up to your momentum ending and then being able you can immediately just do it while you're sprinting, so to speak. So
that's good.
And
there was a lot of awkward transitional problems in Gears of War.
There always has been. There's always that awkward transition from cover or traversal to combat. And I think they're doing the right thing by trying to smooth out all those edges. But here's the thing, Matt. Doesn't Gears of War 4 need more than this?
Probably.
This is really everything that they talked about at the event. That's all of it. These are all the changes to Gears multiplayer. And look, I get on some level, it's like a sport, and you don't want to change too much. It's like, well, you can't take away first downs in football. That's just the way football is played.
But you're also kind of left with, okay, so let's say I played the Ultimate Edition of Gears of War 1 on the Xbox One, and then because I played that, they gave me, all the the Xbox One backwards compatible versions of all the other Gears games, and then I decided to play those. So let's say I hadn't played those, but let's say I never played Gears. I bought the Ultimate Edition. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. I'm going to play the other game. So now I've played 4 Gears games in the space of a year. Now this one comes out, and like, why am I? What is enticing about this beyond the better graphics for me to like jump in and do this one too?
I mean, looking at this footage though, I mean, it doesn't look a whole hell of a lot better than like the last Gears.
Yeah, it looks good. I mean, it doesn't look a whole hell of a lot better than the Ultimate Edition.
Yeah.
The other thing is, like, it
does run at 60 frames per second, and they're shooting for a 1080p target on Xbox One.
My other thing is, like, I think it lost some of the iconic Gears look to it because everything is, like clean and built. And, like, Gears was so much about, like, kind of that destroyed beauty sort of ruin. Like, this doesn't even look like the same planet to me. And
it may not be.
Well, I think it's the same planet. It's Sarah. But it's like, after 20 years of rebuilding, but they're apparently not doing that fancy Gothic architecture anymore. They're just doing factories or something.
Well, I think the other problem, too, is that the cogs don't really look like cogs anymore.
Well, yeah, they stopped their steroid regimen, I guess.
Yeah.
And everybody looks like a normal person again.
One thing I would say that does kind of give it that Gears flair is how the enemies have, like, the flowing robe.
Oh, yeah, everybody's got to have the...
the loincloth.
Yeah, they're horrifying underground monsters, but they know how to they know how to rock a tunic.
They wear clothes. Yeah. Why would you wear clothes if you were a creature like that at all? Unless you were like in the subarctic temperatures.
You're an underground monster doesn't mean you don't have your modesty.
And right there was an attempt at,
and then ooh,
and then he got him with the knife. Yeah, so. I don't know, Matt. This multiplayer...
Interesting in the far future on another planet in a human colony post-war where we've pretty much forgotten about Earth, everybody's still wearing the same beards that all the hipsters in Silver Lake are wearing.
Yeah.
Like all the facial hair in this game looks like it came out of a coffee shop in Soho. I don't know what the deal is with that, but I just, I've played a lot of Gears. I don't quite know what I'm supposed to be excited about here yet.
Multiplayer-wise, I'm not excited at all. That's what I'm trying to say.
I don't really care about competitive multiplayer in Gears of War, though. I like the dodgeball idea, but again, when I hear that, I'm like, oh, that's cool. I hope a game that I play more steals that idea. But then, there's not a lot of games where that wouldn't work in like Battlefront because there's too many players.
Right.
This is the game for that. So I'm more of a horde mode person.
Hopefully they bring back the horde mode because the horde mode in Gears of War 3 was amazing.
Oh, it was great.
It was the best horde mode I've ever played.
I only played the competitive Gears 3 for a couple of days, but I played horde mode for weeks.
It was amazing. Yeah. And Judgment, it sucked, but...
I didn't finish that one.
No, I'm saying the horde mode in Judgment sucked.
I don't think I even played the horde. I didn't know anyone who was playing it, so I couldn't play it with anybody.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Horde mode solo is ridiculous. Like, there's no reason for
that. I mean, it's just like playing zombies in Call of Duty. Like, you might as well just stick a knife in your eye socket. It's probably more fun. So, yeah, I would say multiplayer. I'm pretty concerned about this. Again, I'm not... I played the first Gears a lot online, a lot. It was that game where like everyone at GT left work, and then we'd all get home, we'd eat something real quick, and we'd all jump online and we'd play for 5-6 hours sometimes, and that lasted for like months and months. But like the second one came out, I probably played it for 2 weeks. Gears of War 3, I played online for like a week. Judgment, I played online for like 2 days. Like it's just slowly dissipated.
Well, I mean, I remember playing because the first 3 Gears of Wars I played with Kevin Pereira co-op. Like that was our deal. It was like, oh, we're Gears buddies. We do Gears. And the first game we played, and we finished it, and we instantly went back to the title screen and started again on hard.
Yeah.
And then Gears 2 we played, and we're like,
one time's good.
That's enough. And then we never finished Gears 3 in co-op campaign. It was just like, at a certain point, it was just like, I enjoy the stop and pop shooter gameplay, but there's a point at which you're like, I've done this.
Yeah.
I don't see anything. I don't want to disparage it without playing it, but like I don't see anything here that makes me want to grab that controller.
Well, I'm really trying to hang my hat on the campaign here.
Yeah,
they're saying it's going to have a great horror bent to it. It's going to be serious.
They can change up the campaign beyond the usual kind of like rar war
Turret
boys
section.
thing. Yeah, like it's and look, I love you, Marcus, but I don't want to look for your father anymore.
Yeah.
And I hope this isn't about your son looking for you, because I don't care about whether the Phoenix family generations reunite at any point.
I think the Coalition thinks that you do.
Well,
I would not be surprised. In fact, there's a trailer that just came out this week. In fact, the first trailer ever released for Gears 4.
Wow.
They never put out a trailer for this game.
I didn't think about that. First time.
Which leads me to believe, and actually we'll see it a little later, it is our trailer of the week this week. That would lead me to believe that, yes, you are on the right track there with the plot in this game. But we'll see.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say, we'll do our hype level up or down. My hype level is down after this.
My hype level is about the same, but like
because you didn't count on playing it anyway.
I wasn't really on my radar to begin with. I mean, that could change because it's the weird things. Like I wasn't really it wasn't really on my radar. The Ultimate Edition wasn't on my radar either, and I put it in, and you get a code, you put it, why not? I put it in, and I was like. I played for a while. I'm like, I do like this. I really do like Gears of War. I like the way it feels. It's like the way it looks. It's a different thing. But I got through like half that game, the remaster, and I was happy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I want to play another 8 to 9 hours of the thing. But again, I think maybe I'm living or dying on the Horde mode on this one. If the Horde mode has a lot of cool ideas in it, I'm in. I think I'll probably.
Never really announced anything
that's my favorite mode in Gears by far.
Because here's my contention, is that shooters are really changing right now.
That's true.
There was a period where Call of Duty stayed the same, a good 4 years straight, where it was pretty much, kind of like this, just little tweaks here and there to the formula, that people who are hardcore fans could really see a difference with it, but people who played it casually really couldn't see it. But now, even with Call of Duty, we're starting to see the crazy traversal mechanics and the game getting kind of flipped upside down.
Now maybe going to space.
Yeah, maybe going to space. We're talking about another shooter here in a bit that really turns things kind of upside down. And here we have Gears 4, which is just kind of more of the same. And again, to your point, you're right. It is different all on its own. There aren't really any other games out there that play like it. But we've played a lot of it already. And so...
I just think it's weird. When was Judgment? That was like 2012, 2013?
Yeah, 2012, I think, yeah.
That's a long time ago, and I still don't feel like the need to really return. It's weird.
Because there's nothing here to get you excited.
Yeah, I guess not.
Maybe the campaign will do that. Maybe the demo we see at E3 for the campaign.
Well, look, if they have an idea for Horde mode that's as interesting as Dodgeball, not saying it is Dodgeball, but I'm like an equivalent idea. It's like, hey, we thought of this and we think it really makes Horde mode like amazing and different and better. Like that might be enough to pull me in because I do love a good Horde mode.
I'm gonna play it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, we have to play it because we're gonna have to talk about it. But it's like. That doesn't mean I'm telling everybody else they should go play.
Right, exactly. Well, we're all going to find out for ourselves in the very near future. Open beta, I know I'm in it already. I think it kicks off this weekend?
This weekend or next? I think it's this weekend.
Yeah. There's so many betas.
There's a lot of betas.
I can't even keep track of all of them anymore.
Is Doom this weekend?
Doom is this weekend. I think Doom starts tomorrow.
Wow.
And Battleborn's all weekend long,
Battleborn's already happening, yeah.
It's happening already, but it also stays up all weekend long, So yeah, we'll definitely be talking about this again. I'm guessing around E3. We'll probably be talking about Gears again once we see that next demo. But what I've seen of the multiplayer so far does not inspire a lot of confidence in me that it's going to be something new, fresh, and unique.
Solid, but not motivating.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's move on to the next topic. Dark Souls 3.
Dark Souls.
I have not played it. Surprise, surprise. My convenient excuse is that I'm playing a kiddie game, Star Fox Zero.
Too busy.
Yeah, too busy. I've been playing a bunch of other stuff too, but most of my time has been eaten up with Star Fox. Matt, you have been playing this. So...
I've been playing it, not as much as I'd like.
And why is that?
Because I'm busy.
Oh, if you're busy.
Yeah.
It's not because you're not enjoying it.
I admit I'm not making as much time for it as I thought I would be. Because I'm a little bored with it. I'm 3 bosses in, so I'm not that far, but there's a real feeling of done it to this game, especially after Bloodborne. Bloodborne changed the formula up just enough to really hook me again, And like,
Now, isn't this supposed to be the middle ground between Bloodborne
yeah,
and the old
it
Souls
is
games?
faster, but it's still very much Dark Souls. I'm playing kind of two characters parallel right now. I'm playing like a knight, and then I'm also playing a sorcerer. I was a sorcerer in Dark Souls 2. I do like what they've done with the magic system a lot. Whereas like previously the spells had like a certain number of uses, and now it's more of a standard magic bar. But you have this thing where like you have the Estus flasks, which
The health flasks.
refill your health, but you've also got flasks that refill your mana, your spirit, or I don't know what they call it. But at the blacksmith you can actually change the ratio of health flasks to mana flasks.
Interesting.
So like if you want to like have right now I've got 5 Estus flasks, and I've got it set for my sorcerer has like three of them are mana and 2 of them are health, and then my knight has all of them are health.
Right. Makes sense.
So like you can really mess with that some more, and it makes magic a much more viable. You always had like an item you could like restore some uses of spells, but this makes it so a magic focused class is a much more viable choice, and I like that. I'm a magic user. Although
Is that well, you said you had 2. So you have one magic user and a knight.
I have the sorcerer and a knight. I have to admit I'm enjoying the knight a little more this time. I think you're more down and dirty. You're more in the face. You have to learn how the countering and how the shield works, and sort of you have to know the pattern better. Whereas with the sorcerer, you can just sort of like
Spam.
toss soul bolts out there until somebody falls over. But like and it's beautiful. It's I'm playing on PC. I've got it maxed out 4K, 1440. No technical problems, no glitches, no crashes. People are having a lot. I saw there people having some crashes and stuff with the first bonfire. And
I saw that. You didn't have that issue at all?
No, not at all. And first, people are like, oh, well, if you play a knight, like it covers the hair, and it doesn't happen. I'm like, oh, I was a knight the first time. So then I played the sorcerer, and I haven't had no technical problems.
Console versions, frame rate all over the place.
Yeah, which is actually one main reason I went PC, because you
went PC because your rig is beastly.
That, and also
you should go PC every chance you get.
Sometimes I do have a bigger TV than my monitor.
Right.
It's not a 4K TV, but I like to sit on the couch. But the frame rate and like some of the early reports and like the Digital Foundry stuff was just not okay, especially when I had the PC sitting right there. And I found it was a German site that was selling the deluxe edition for like $66.
Oh wow!
So I got the season pass basically for the price of the regular game.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, done. So I'm playing that on that, and it's great. Looks amazing. To a degree. I mean, you've still kind of got the whole From Software can't figure out how to put a head in a hood properly kind of thing. It's like the head, like the hair's clipping through the fucking. I'm like, really, guys? Like at this
you
point,
still haven't figured that out.
Can you not like that was like I admit that was like I didn't like Arkham Knight very much, but that was one of my like big requests for Arkham Knight. It's like, can you make it so the spikes on the arms don't clip through the cape anymore? Can you just make the cape not like poke through things anymore? And they did. They nailed it. They nailed the cape. So thank you, this generation, for giving us capes that are, but From Software is not quite there yet on some of those ideas. And everyone you create still looks ugly. I mean, I can't make anyone that doesn't look like some kind of like horrible mutant, basically. I'm sure if I spend hours on Character Creator. But I do like that. Like the first boss you run into is basically like there's not a lot of setup, there's not a lot of tutorial, just like always. But it's like
it's like right out of the gate,
right? And you pull a sword out of a thing, and this thing stands up, and it's just like, oh, have you played these games before? Let's see what you remember, motherfucker. And it's great. I mean, it's a great fight. Yeah. I got killed once, and I came back. I'm like, all right, now I remember how to do this. And then halfway through the fight, there's a big surprise with what happens there, and you're like, oh, wow! It really throws you into that whole thing. It's like Dark Souls is very much about like, you think you're walking into this one situation, and then it turns out you have to deal with a whole different version of that situation.
That's worse than you anticipated.
And now you're like, I hope you didn't use all your Estus flasks already, because here we go. And so that was really fun. So there's like moments of greatness, and like between them every once in a while, I'm just like, kind of the traversals between where I'm killing like the 15th like skeletal zombie thing. I'm just like, boy, I hope you have more ideas down the road here, because
now they did add something to the combat, right? There's kind of like flourish moves with weapons.
There's like special move stuff which I haven't really figured out fully yet. I mean, you hold the button basically, and you get different versions of things, and it like varies per weapon types and stuff like that. Doesn't seem to be a big thing with the Sorcerer.
It doesn't seem to be a big thing with everyone. Most of the reviews I read for the game, people were like, I never used it.
Yeah, I wouldn't know it was there, really, if it wasn't for people talking about it online. And I've tried a little bit, but here's the thing. After this many Souls games, like, I am so ingrained in how I fight that, like, it's really hard to remember I have a different tool now.
Right,
You know,
right.
like, I'm just like, well, I could try that new thing I can do, but I know if I just stick to how I'm doing it now, I'll get there.
Right,
So,
right.
like, maybe I'll just play, the Souls games are all about the risk-reward, and, like, you're so tempted
Well,
to
you play that
safe
with yourself, too.
all the time,
yeah.
And, like, it's like, I'm not saying it's bad. I don't think they let anyone down with it, really, but I just, it's really starting to feel it's like we've done this.
Well, this is, they're saying, the last one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really believe that either.
I mean, they're going to make another one that's, another thing that's called something else that's similar, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this is their niche, I'm sure there'll be a Bloodborne 2 or whatever,
Yeah.
which I'm looking forward to as well.
I'm guessing we might see Bloodborne 2, a trailer at E3, to be honest with you.
I'll take that, It's like, and of course part of the thing is like I'm trying to play it enough to be able to talk about it, and like rushing Dark Souls is just
The
like,
recipe for
recipe
disaster.
for misery. Like it's just not, I was like, oh, I got to get I want to get further into, and everyone in the game is just like, nope. Oh, did you want to rush? No, here's 14 dogs that are going to kill you, and it's. But it's like those little things where I'm like, it's like a familiar frustration, I guess.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes that is like a really pleasant thing, and sometimes it's like, yes, I realize this door does not open from this side.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to get to the other side in like an hour. I just wish I was there already.
Yeah.
It's
And I have this huge sword that I could easily pry the door open
right,
with.
right. Like I can destroy chairs and tables by rolling through them, but the one wooden door,
Yeah,
you're not
forget
gonna,
it, yeah.
no way. Like, don't even try kicking it. Oh, you can kick now. You give a kick where you can get like, guys away from you faster.
Oh.
Which I keep
Do you use it?
No, I can also keep forgetting I have that. But you can do that. Like there's new little things in there.
Now, what about the overall pace of combat? Does it change anything very drastically?
I wouldn't say drastically. Also, keep in mind, I barely played as a melee character in 2.
Okay.
So that comparison isn't, I don't know if I'm totally qualified to make that comparison, but it does feel kind of like halfway between Dark Souls 2 and Bloodborne. Like, especially like, enemies do not give you a break. They never did, but now like they'll come at you. Like those spear guys will just be like, "Oh, we're going to do that," and they've got a couple of follow-ups they can use, and they don't always use. That's the thing. A lot of spear guys with shields, and like they'll do a thing where usually in the other games, they did their attacks, and at the end of their attack you hit. But now they can do it once, they can do 2, they can add a third one sometimes, and like sometimes you're waiting for them to kind of finish, and like, oh, they're finished early, but now they're behind the shield again. It's like
There was some of that in Bloodborne too.
Yeah, but Bloodborne was easier to find a way around it, I think. And in this one, I've had some pretty massive conflicts, like, in places that were very uncomfortable to be. Like, you can't just, run by this guy, because he'll get you in the back as soon as you have to stop for the next thing, but you have to kind of deal with this, and somebody's shooting an arrow at you, there's a dragon on the roof, and he might breathe fire at any moment, but that's kind of, again, that's, the appeal and the frustration of Dark Souls. I don't think it's going to change your mind.
Yeah, I didn't think it would. Yeah,
I do think you should play it and come back and tell us all about it.
Yeah.
But
Schadenfreude right there, reveling in the misery of others.
But it's it's not going to offer a whole lot new to a veteran, but it is going to offer what a veteran likes.
Yeah.
I don't think they completely biffed it. Opinions will vary. There's people that hate Dark Souls 2. There's people that think Dark Souls 2 is fine. There's people that think Dark Souls 2 is better than Dark Souls 1. And I'm sure there'll be people. I'm sure that there will be different people with those ratios on this one. I really can't guess what. I haven't looked online really for what people's impressions are. I didn't want to
What about the challenge
myself.
level? Because IGN said it's the hardest one ever.
I think it's there
for
sure, and especially early on. I mean, the first area.
They throw you into a boss fight right away.
Oh yeah, well they throw you into a boss fight, but then the first area you go to, I mean, if you go up the wrong side of the Firelink Shrine right at the beginning, you run into this quick draw samurai zombie guy that's he'll kill you in 2 hits.
One shot,
and the worst thing is there's the new system is when you beat a boss, it used to be you would be unhollowed, you'd be you'd be alive again or whatever, and you would you'd have extra life or whatever. Now it's it's embers. So like you kind of have this fire effect, and like you have like double the life bar and stuff. And then if you get killed, you lose the extra life. So like it makes everything much harder, and you'd have to like re-ember to do that, and that's a finite number. Managing resources once again. So like so there's that again, that whole thing where I'm like, oh, I bet I could take that guy. But if you screw up, if you don't manage your stamina right, he kills you, and you've lost half your health. Now you got to deal with that whole next section without or you can burn an ember, and like it's.
Well, it's just like using the bonfires. Like,
right.
You use one, that's great and all, but the enemies respawn.
Right. Which is good. I do think they got rid of the Dark Souls 2 thing where the enemies stop respawning. Or if they haven't, it takes a lot longer now because I haven't had that happen, and I've been through certain sections a lot.
Well, I know our Game Eval, the Matt Cabral who wrote our Game Eval, said that it is that way. Like, they respawn if you use the bonfire. So.
Okay. Yeah, because in Dark Souls 2, if you did it, I think it was like 10 or 12 times, they'd stop respawning.
Right, yeah.
And I think they got rid of that because I don't think anybody really liked that. That was kind of anathema to the philosophy of Dark Souls.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, it's like every single enemy can kill you, just like the other ones, and they put you in some really difficult situations very early on, I would say. So in terms of just this far out in the early part of the game, I would say it is harder because there's a couple places I think I would not have known how to handle it if I wasn't already seasoned in how to kind of get around that stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a couple places where even I was like, how the hell you want me to do that? Oh, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
But it was all from experience with the other games and not like a eureka moment inside Dark Souls 3 itself. So there's a lot of stuff in there I would say probably is for I would say is for someone who's already played these games and knows what they're doing. Which again probably puts a stake in the heart of the idea of that whole easy mode idea, where it's just like, I don't see how.
Well, there's been editorials all week from the Dark Souls, like the Dark Souls guy, and at every publication this week has written an editorial saying how an easier difficulty mode would not work, basically.
I just don't think you'd get the same experience. Like, it's like you wouldn't have played Dark Souls. It's a weird kind of thing to say, but it's like the irritation and the frustration and the conquest of the thing that was frustrating you is so much a part of how this game works that like an easy mode where you can just sort of like walk through it all with minimal trouble is like you haven't played the same game I did. And I don't mean that
in like... Do you think that's wrong, though?
Well, I don't know if it's wrong. I just mean I can understand.
I would think that's okay. Like different people taking different things away from the same game, I think is okay. Right,
but I can understand why the developers would not want to make that version of their game. Like it's just it'd be a different thing they're presenting, and if that's not what they want to present to the people who play their game, then you're not going to get it.
Yeah,
because it depends. I don't care. I mean, if that was in the game, I wouldn't like feel like my experience was detracted from or anything. I wouldn't be like, oh, all the losers are playing easy mode and I'm the Dark Souls elite guy. Like I wouldn't care. I just feel like it would be hard to kind of compare notes with someone who played that mode because it would have been so different. Because it's like but Dark Souls players kind of like swap back and forth. It's like, oh, that one boss where I had to like do this and fight my way through this and figure this out. Whereas like someone who played an easy mode, like, oh yeah, I like went behind him and hit him a couple times, and you're like, well, that's just a different experience.
I think a lot of it depends.
While that's not a wrong experience, I can understand why From doesn't want to make that part of the experience they're presenting.
I think a lot of it depends on what the goal of the developer is.
Right.
Is the goal of the developer to serve the fans in a certain audience, or is it to have as many people enjoy the game as possible? Is it to just make money? Every developer is different, like what their goals are when they set out to make a game. And so, yeah, I mean, we can't read From's mind and say...
But it seems like they've sort of figured out how many people are into their game, and they're good with that.
Yeah.
It's like the old Star Trek movies where they kind of figured out, like, this is how much money a Star Trek movie makes, so here's your budget, make the Star Trek movie. And it's like, that's what you got.
X profit.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, as long as they kind of keep in that realm and don't make the Grand Theft Auto of Dark Souls, like I'm going to make a $150 million Dark Souls game.
Yeah.
Not that I wouldn't buy it.
Yeah.
But I think they've kind of found their place, and they can keep going as they want. If you want an easy kind of cakewalk game, almost every other AAA game in the world is there for you.
But there isn't one like that though.
No, you're
like
right.
This.
You're right.
There isn't one with this visual style, this type of storytelling. That's why I get a little envious. Because it's like I've said before, like, I love everything about this and Bloodborne. Like, you know, it's right in my wheelhouse.
You can do it.
I know I can
guarantee
do
you
it.
can do it.
I know I can do it. I know I can make it through the game. That's not a question. I just don't have the patience or the time to do it anymore. I just don't. Like, I'd just be sitting there the whole time. Every time I kept dying over and over, being like, I could be working on
I've already
blah, 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 blah right now. Instead
I'm trying to come up with ways to force you to get to do it, and I'm thinking I should get to make a demand if I win the fantasy draft this year.
Oh, interesting.
So my demand will be that if I win the fantasy draft, we're going to come in on like a Saturday, and you're going to spend 12 hours playing Dark Souls 3 with me.
Oh man.
And you're gonna either it's going to break you or you're going to break it.
It might break me. It might. That's tough. But then I get to do something with. I need to give you a demand too. Then.
Yeah. I don't know what that would be.
I'll think of one. I'll come up with it next week.
You can maybe play a whole season of Madden.
Yeah. Franchise mode.
I don't know how much the drinks in the stadium should be. I don't know what this is.
These hot dogs are too damn expensive. We'll figure something out. I would be open to that. It's not that I don't want to play it. It's like I almost need...
That idea is purely for the people who would watch. I mean, I think that would be entertaining, right?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Shane versus Dark Souls, I think.
Shane versus Dark Souls, yeah.
We'd have to have like a cache of extra controllers set up on the side.
Oh, now people are talking about setting up a Patreon. Oh, we want to do some Sifted Elite donations to make him play Dark Souls? Yeah, I'm into that.
That would be hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
You know what, though? If somebody did that...
A separate like donation bin for like the Dark Souls fund.
You know, I would give like half of it to charity or something. Yeah, I would be totally down with that. But yeah, you guys will get your money's worth, I promise. Because
he gets mad.
I do get mad. He gets real playing mad. Games sometimes. I never used to. I get more mad now because I think my time is like so finite. Like I literally look at my day and I'm like, I have 10 minutes to do this. I have 10 minutes to do that. Like today, I was getting ready for the show, and like one of the B-roll clips was rendering, and I shaved. And then another B-roll clip was rendering, and I took a shower. Like that's literally like how my time is. Like to get everything done.
Yeah, I've just been sitting there playing Dark Souls on PC. Although
thanks, Matt.
The first day was at some point. I think it was one of the first times I lost all my souls, and I went, oh. Fuck you!
Yeah.
And someone from the hallway goes, fuck you too! Just passing by my door and heard me.
I flipped off the TV screen last night playing Star Fox Zero like 5 or 6 times. And that's exactly what I say. I say the same exact thing, but I flip off the TV screen as if anyone knows or the game knows.
My go-tos are fuck you, really, and
Yeah, I do that. You've got to be kidding me. That's the one I use all the time.
And do you ever have the moment where like you run out of swear words and you try to combine them in a different way to make something satisfying and it doesn't work and you just say like you instead like you're like, oh, you dumb wit. What? Like I didn't get any obscenity in that. That wasn't good.
Oh, I'll go on like full on tirades where I'll like be talking to the developers, like.
Oh my god! When I played Call of Duty 2 on Veteran in that last run down the hallway to get to the control room, like I was personally insulting the people I knew at Infinity War. I'm like, who did this? Who did? I'm going to find you. Yeah.
I'll say stuff like Miyamoto didn't look at this. Just dumb crap, like.
And to be fair, I brought that up to Vince once. The next time I saw him, and he's like, "Why would you do that to yourself? I won't play that shit." Veteran, are you kidding?
That's great. All right, I guess we got to move on. We could probably sit here and talk about how we react to difficult games all day, but it's time to move on. We're going to talk about Titanfall 2.
Speaking of
Vince. First teaser came out.
Teaser is about the kindest thing you can say about it because it's.
Sam's going to get real sick of running this thing over and over again.
Over and over.
Because it lasts about 20 seconds.
But it does have 2 important things in it, I would say.
First,
a very strong hint at a narrative.
Yeah.
And the robot has a sword.
Yep. That's the most important part. Robot with sword.
Ka-shunk.
Yeah. So that's it, Sam. You're going to have to rerun it again.
Play it again, Sam.
So there's actually a bunch of little hidden stuff in here. So that capsule has a name on it. and the name is a character from the first Titanfall who died, at least you think, dies in the first Titanfall. So that's kind of a hint that this might be a prequel. On the sword, there's like a serial number. And in the serial number, there's like PC, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and then like what looks like a date. And so people are saying maybe the date is like its proposed release date or something like that. They're saying that mech is a cross between two of the mechs from the first Titanfall. And what else? There's maybe one other little nugget in there. Can't remember. The creature. That just walks across the top there.
Monitor lizard thing.
So,
do you think somewhere there's like a botanist who like watches this and it's like those plants would never grow together?
That's way too arid. I don't know, but it's good to see in the age where campaigns are just going away. It's good to see a reverse of the sequel to a game that didn't have a campaign now having the campaign. The other thing I like about this, too, is that it does kind of show that in the first Titanfall, even though it didn't really have much of a story, it did kind of set up a lot of the lore so that the story for the sequel could be something worth experiencing and something with a little bit of depth to it, at least.
It is interesting, like, even if you didn't have the title on this, like, you'd know what this was.
Yeah, for sure.
They did come up with a lot of iconic stuff.
Mostly because I know a Gundam game would never look that good.
Right. And Front Mission has been gone for a long time.
Yeah. That's mainly why. Like, the production values are way too high for a Gundam game, and that's pretty much the only robot games that come out. Unless it was a Transformers game based on a movie.
Again, looks too good.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, the only good-looking Transformers games these days are going to be, like, the cel-shaded Platinum things.
Yeah. But this got me pretty excited. Yeah. And, you know, there is a little bit of built-in excitement because we do know people that are working on the game, and one person we know really well who's working on it.
Yeah, well, also because I trust these guys to do the right thing with this game.
Yeah.
And you kind of wonder if, like, you know, I guarantee there had to be tons of ideas for the first game didn't make it in because they were working on new hardware and they were working on
the launch game
and all that stuff. So now you got to wonder, it's like, so is this like kind of where they take all that stuff they couldn't fit in there before and they're like, okay, now we're making the game.
Well, they've also had 3 years.
3 years to work on it.
And I'm sure there was already pre-pro going on before the first Titanfall came out, or like you said, stuff that they just cut out. Like they may have had like a campaign part of the way done, and
I
just
think
were
probably,
like, we can't get this done in time.
Well,
like,
let's look at the stuff happening in the background of those maps. Like, there's a lot more work there than needed to be there for just a plain old map. You know, clearly there were people thinking about the worlds and the lore and the situations they were in, and these planets and what they did and what they stood for in the wars and all that. You know, there's a lot of work there on the world building that was never really appreciated because there was no reason to, really. I mean, it was all multiplayer game.
And I wonder, too, if that character, if when they put him in the original one, if they really had the idea of, like, okay, he's going to be, like, the main character or a focal point in the sequel, or if they're just like, we only really gave, like, 5 people names in this game. We gotta choose one.
Just pick one and go.
But it's weird to, like, say that this might be a prequel because there really wasn't much of a story in the first to kind of...
And also, like, why would you take giant electrical swords away from mechs?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like, why would you stop doing that?
That's a good point that maybe points to the fact that it isn't a prequel, and maybe the guy just isn't dead, as it was kind of intimated in the first game.
Or, who knows, maybe that's a third faction.
That could be.
You know, maybe they have a totally different theory of mech combat.
Well, it's not...
They watched Avatar long ago and decided that the scene where the mech pulls a dagger out was the coolest thing they'd ever seen.
2, 3, 4, and 5 coming in 7 years.
I believe that Avatar. When I see a single frame of film shot.
Exactly.
Really? Come on, guys.
But talking about, like, hype up, hype down. Hype up for me on this one.
Yeah, hype up.
I'm excited. You can see the production values are already there.
And I'm excited. I mean, I really didn't think this game was going to come this soon.
Yeah.
You know, I figured we'd see it this year, but I thought we'd be getting it next year.
Yeah,
and it sounds like we're getting it this year.
The flip-flop of Mass Effect. That's what I really thought. Like, I thought we'd get Mass Effect in Q4, we get this Q1 2017, but nope. That's not how it's working.
Apparently not.
But reveal coming June 12th. Is that right?
Sounds right. Is that E3 week? Yeah.
So here's the
Microsoft,
thing.
right?
So, no, it's
No?
not. It is
EA's
press
thing.
conference
Okay.
is now happening on Sunday.
And so isn't
With Bethesda.
Bethesda, yeah.
Ubisoft still
Ubi's
the
is
same day.
sticking with Monday.
Sticking with Monday, but it's earlier than it usually is. So they basically
Because no one else that
jumped
morning.
up. Well, they jumped up and took
Yeah.
EA's spot basically once EA bailed on the Monday. So now on Sunday, like Sunday is the new first day of E3 now.
Sunday.
Yeah, you got Bethesda and EA both on Sunday now.
Yeah.
It used to be Sunday was the day you'd
Sunday was travel day. Sunday was
waltz on down, get your registration badge,
drive over to the Cat and Fiddle for B4.
go eat wings and Hooters.
Yeah.
Not
I don't think
now.
I ever did that.
I didn't either. I'm just joking because the Hooters is right there across the street. But now it's like full on like press conference work day.
Yeah.
It's different. So
Everybody's working through the weekend.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, we don't have much more on Titanfall 2, but we did want to talk about it. It's a huge game, and they did put out the first little bit of footage about it, so we did want to talk about it at least briefly. But I feel like we've probably exhausted that topic at this point with what we've got to go on. So let's move on. It wouldn't be an episode of GameFace
Without a little bit of Nintendo.
well, we already talked Star Fox Zero, but a little bit of NX.
Yeah. A little bit of the future.
Yeah, a little bit of the future. So, more rumors coming out about NX. The controller stuff's dead and gone finally.
Yeah.
But there's all kinds of other stuff. Somehow Emily Rogers has just turned into, like, the source for Nintendo.
Yeah, well, she's been
All the money.
right on a ton of things for a couple of years now.
Yeah, you're right. She has some kind of a mole. I bet you Nintendo is doing its best to try to figure out exactly who that person is at this point because she posted... First of all, she broke the news about Paper Mario Color Splash for Wii U. She knew about that beforehand. And now she's been kind of putting out other rumors, but after that Paper Mario thing, she actually left social media for a while. And her account like went dormant, and she typically was posting like every day. And so
They were close.
People were kind of wondering, like, did Nintendo come at her and be like, yo, what's going on? Like, where are you getting this information from? And she got maybe a little camera shy or whatever, but she's back.
I got it from Yoshi, suckers. Go ask him.
Yeah, and so this week there was like 3 different rounds of NX rumors, and we're just going to kind of go through all of them and talk about them. The first one we're going to talk about just came out in the last day. Wii U remasters being worked on for the NX. Matt, how do you feel about that?
I feel like that means it's not backwards compatible.
Yeah.
Which is a little disturbing.
Yeah, I mean, that's clearly what it points to.
Right. Do you, what does that mean? Like, is it not backwards compatible to anything, or just the Wii U?
Well,
Is
so
it 'cause
here's
it
the other
doesn't-
thing.
It doesn't have a second screen? Like, what's going on?
Well, the other thing is that's the thing. So one of the other rumors is that it does support second screen experiences.
Will I be able to, is it going to, want me to take my gamepad, my Wii U gamepad, and sync it with the new system? Like they
That's
did with the
possible.
Wii controllers and the Wii U?
That's possible, but I think that's highly unlikely.
I would think.
Because
then,
few people bought the Wii U.
But also
you're
on
limiting
top of
your
that,
market.
what's the one thing a lot of people do? I don't do it, but what about what other people do when it's time to buy a new system? You trade the last one in.
Yeah.
You can't trade the Wii U in without the gamepad.
No, you're absolutely right.
So if they expect you to carry that over, that could be a weird situation.
I mean, also that gamepad needs redone anyway.
Well, yeah.
Like that thing. Now I look at it, it's so clunky and
Very
weird.
Midwest, though.
It just looks like a product that was never fully developed. And look, there were many prototypes. I don't know if you saw some of the really early Wii U gamepad prototypes, but they were crude.
Yeah.
But this thing still looks kind of crude. It's like the first 3D or the first DS. Remember that?
Yeah. Very thick and weird, and the D-pad looked terrible.
Yeah, it just didn't look like a finished piece of hardware. And then they put out the next iteration, and it looked great. And maybe they planned on doing that with this one, but it just failed so miserably. They're like, scrap that.
Yeah.
No need to redesign this thing. So I highly doubt that the gamepad carries over. Now, I could much more see that people could just use their iPad or whatever tablet they have is something. Maybe it syncs via Bluetooth. I don't know. I could see that maybe.
Yeah. The other question is it even worth putting backwards compatibility in the thing, considering how few of them are out there in the first place?
How few people have the game sitting around. Yeah. I mean, Mario Kart sold really well.
Yep.
New Super Mario Brothers U sold
Yeah, it did
really
well.
I mean, most other games...
Smash Brothers
sold well. That's pretty much it. Yeah. Other than, like Splatoon, which sold like $1 million or whatever.
And that, it would make sense to, like, you know, you get remasters of Splatoon and Smash Brothers and Mario Kart, and there you go. You know?
I just don't... Here's my thing. I just don't want any remasters at all. Like, I want all new games. Like,
so do I, but at the same time, like, you know... those games are going to be new to a lot of people if you're really talking about if this system theoretically sells to a much wider audience. Like these are people that never played Mario Kart on the Wii U, so like to them it's a new game.
Yeah, I'm just being selfish.
I'm
just saying for myself. Like I don't want any remaster. I think honestly, like the remasters are kind of something that hurt the Wii U. Like you're making the remasters for the existing fans, the people who already owned a Wii U. Like it wasn't going to bring new people to the console. It's like I could go buy a GameCube for $15 and Wind Waker for $5. Like I can play this game a lot cheaper if I want to.
I don't think you've looked at GameCube prices recently.
Oh really?
Oh no.
Really?
Old Nintendo hardware and software does not go down in price.
Yeah, it does. Like I mean, I looked at GameCube prices a year and a half ago, and they were all like going for like $25 or $30.
Yeah, those are the models that don't have the digital out.
Yeah. That's true. But still, you can play Wind Waker without the digital out.
Yeah, it's going to look like crap.
No, actually, that game did not look like crap at standard def.
Through composite? It doesn't look too good.
I thought it looked amazing. The art style, I thought.
Oh, the art style's fine, but I'm saying, like, a composite signal of any kind through, like, the TVs we have now is not going to look good.
Well, I always had at least S-video, so maybe that helps a little bit. But anyway, back on topic, I just don't think it's a smart strategy to remaster games. I just don't. I think, you know, there's very little hype around remasters.
None of it takes away from time being spent on the new games.
And it does. It's like, look, if you want to have Capcom
I think that depends
or somebody
on what you're dealing with.
Build something, sure. Or,
like, clearly Sony is
not even sure, because look what happened with Star Fox Zero with Platinum. Like, it's not up to the usual quality.
Well, what they need to do is, like, you know, if you want to do that, you need to go to a, you know, like Sony does with Bluepoint. You know, like, that's what they do. They do remasters. You know, Sony's not assigning one of their existing teams to that. They got this, you know, external company that just specializes in that. They're like, here's all the assets. Make a PS4 version of it.
I'm totally fine with that. You know, I'm not fine with is that's not how Nintendo does it. Like it does these remasters in-house, internally.
Yeah, they get the people that made the game in the first place to come back and do it again.
Because Nintendo's never going to trust some other developer to make one of these
Star Fox Zero is probably not going to encourage them to trust.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. Like I just feel like any remaster Nintendo makes is one less new original game that I'm not going to get to play. And I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of remasters, period. But you know, I play a lot of games, and
well, it'll be okay. You'll get your new Super Mario Brothers X
or whatever it'll be,
and your Mario Maker X. And
well, that's what they're saying. Mario Maker is one of the games that they're saying is they're talking about remastering.
That one I'm kind of okay with, though.
It's that Splatoon, Smash Brothers, maybe one other one. Is what they're talking about.
I mean, Mario, an NX version of Mario Maker makes a lot of sense. I feel like that's going to happen one way or the other.
I mean, look, that game works perfect with the gamepad, though.
True. But I think there's got to be a second screen, something happening. Whether you're tethering a tablet or a phone to it, or it's part of the controller it comes with, or it's, you know, it includes the new whatever successor to the 3DS. In it, as part of the system or part of the controller, like one way or the other, you're gonna have that same interface. Like, Nintendo's never gonna walk away from touchscreens. I don't think. Not after that.
All right, so let's move on to the next point. More powerful than the PlayStation 4 using x86.
Believe that when I see it.
Really?
Yeah.
It kind of has to be, doesn't it?
I would think so, but it's Nintendo. Like they want, you know, I don't know what, you know, the price point is going to be more important than the power point. You know. Like, yeah, theoretically now you could make something that's, you know, substantially more powerful than the PS4 and sell it for $400, but are Nintendo going to want to do that? Are they going to want to sell it for $300? In which case, I don't think you're looking at something as powerful as the PS4.
Look, history, you're right. Historically, that's what Nintendo does. It tries to make its hardware as cheap as possible, but...
I mean, this is the time to change that.
Right, that's what I was about to say. That's been a losing strategy for, like, a long time.
Well, not the Wii U for a while.
Yeah, for a while. But I think
Nintendo has to recognize that they're not selling this to the people that made the Wii a hit.
Yeah. Those people are gone. Those people are on their cell phones and
those people are,
tablets.
Those people haven't looked at that Wii forever. Well, yeah, some of them are.
I remember all the nursing home videos for Wii Sports.
And the show got dark.
Yeah.
Bunch bunch of dusty Wiis no longer playing Wii bowling.
Oh, I feel bad now, but not really. So, yeah.
It's the brand new game for Nintendo, Wii Morning.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Okay, so I think it has to be more powerful than
Still
PlayStation 4.
sell better than Wii Music.
Yeah, well, you're right. If it's not more powerful than PS4, I think it's just dead in the water. Because Sony's about ready to leave the PlayStation 4 in the dust.
Yeah.
And if Nintendo hopes to do anything with VR, which rumors are starting to swirl that they're working on that too, you have to have hardware at least as powerful as PlayStation 4.
Yeah, I think the importance of the power is that you need a system that people can just port. Third-party multi-platform devs can just port their games over and make an NX version alongside the PS4 and Xbone versions, and it takes no effort. It takes a little bit of extra money, a little bit of effort. It's no problem. You need something that's just easy to make a port for. You can't have it
x86.
Right. But it also has to be the power level. You can't be we have to make a lower standard version of it to kind of, we have to make sure it scales down to the Nintendo system. No one wants to do that anymore, and they're just going to walk away because they're probably still not going to sell that many copies on your system.
Yeah.
You have to make it as painless as possible to get an NX version of what, Assassin's Creed 7 or whatever.
And if Nintendo is smart right now, it is building middleware right now specifically for that.
Yeah.
It is working on creating an environment where people can just shove their assets into something and spit out the NX version of that game.
Because the most important thing for the NX, I think, and I hope Nintendo is targeting this, is you have to be able to buy the Nintendo system and not feel you're missing anything.
Yeah.
You except for Sony and
I can't remember the
Microsoft's
last time I
exclusive
could
stuff.
say that.
But if you decide, people, these systems, people aren't buying multiples all that much anymore, except for really hardcore people like we are.
Yeah.
And even then, I'm just why do I have an Xbox One right now?
I'm starting to wonder.
But you can't expect them to have the Nintendo system as the secondary console. They have to be able to buy. It's say I like Zelda, I like Mario, I want to play them, and I want to buy this system. And if I do buy this system, it's not going to be like with the Wii and the Wii U, where it's you bought the Nintendo system, but now you don't get to play Assassin's Creed, and now you don't get to play Mass Effect, and now you don't get to play all these other games that everybody else is playing on the other systems. It has to be, you have to have parity with the multi-platform library.
I think, honestly, the last Nintendo console that you could have bought and had that be your only console and not completely freak out was the GameCube.
Yeah.
And even the later part of that's lifespan, you would start to get envy.
I mean, Nintendo's consoles have been my second console for 20 years now.
Yeah.
I think
really,
that started with the
Super
N64.
Nintendo was the last one that could have been your only console and you'd have been satisfied.
And part of that was because, the Nintendo 64 simply had very different games from the PlayStation 1. There was not a lot of crossover there.
Yeah.
And it was kind of worth having both of them because
it was totally worth it.
I mean, you didn't get anything like Final Fantasy 8 on Nintendo 64, but you also didn't get anything like Banjo-Kazooie on PlayStation 1.
They were great complements to each other.
Right.
But you know what? I could look at PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, maybe original Xbox Borderline, but definitely Xbox 360, probably Xbox One. I could survive with just owning one of those.
Yeah.
That's never been the case with a Nintendo console since the 16-bit era.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big problem.
Yep.
And it's been a problem, like you said, for 20 years. That's why I'm saying, they need to make it so easy to port games to this thing and,
to the point that you would never even consider not doing it.
Right, and Nintendo should have been at GDC, which just passed, banging that hammer, man. Literally, it's so easy. They should have had a demo set up with a developer there, showing,
But it's Nintendo, and they're not really ready to talk about their little system that they're, that's the thing, is, they're so insular and secretive, and it's it might be time to open the borders a little bit, guys. Especially if you intend to launch this thing in the fiscal year.
I don't think that'll ever happen until they hire new blood at management positions. As long as they keep hiring from within existing executives to run NOJ, I think it's just going to be like Groundhog Day. It's just the same thing over, because they teach each other to do the same things over and over. One can argue, you look at the cash they have in the bank, it's hard to argue against that.
But they still, I think you're right, they need they need an Iwata-style figure that was born in the 80s.
Yeah.
They need an Iwata-style figure that grew up with Nintendo.
Or just
and
came
knows
from
what's
somewhere
not
else
happening
and
right.
isn't a part of that corporate culture. Like,
Yeah, but that's come on.
I mean, it depends. Look, it all depends
Where do you get that?
on what is the goal. Is the goal to just turn a profit, or is the goal to make something a smash hit?
I would hope it's the latter. I mean, Nintendo has sort of satisfied themselves with turning the profit for a long time.
Yeah.
And, like...
Even the GameCube made money, somehow.
I mean, at a certain point, you're starting to hit the point where, like, Nintendo being king of the hill is very hard to remember now.
It is,
You know, that was the 16-bit days.
I mean, other
and
than
even then,
the brief glimpse of the Wii, where it had
Right.
that, like, 18-month window.
But I think that company got that taste of that again with the Wii.
Yeah.
And they, the Wii U to me says they weren't ready to admit that was, a momentary thing.
Over.
And it was and we got a lot of heat back in the day in the press for saying that, like, it's the Wii is a fad.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the the.
Well, it's just funny looking at like this hardware video for Wii U and just seeing all this stuff that like nothing ever
happened.
came of like hardly any of it. Like it ended up using so little of this functionality. And this is one thing.
Where's
I'll
even
remember.
the golf game that uses it as a tee?
I know.
Like,
I mean,
none of
this
that
is one
happened.
thing I'm going to remember whenever they unveil the NX. Is like, yeah, all this stuff looks great, but at the end of the day, like third parties didn't really use this stuff at all unless they were forced to. Like at launch, like they shoehorned some of the stuff into it, but after that, forget it.
Yeah, the only thing that really I think took advantage of it, like around that era, was I think Zombie U.
Yeah.
Like was a really cool. I mean, even then, that's the free game on PlayStation Plus this month.
know.
So it's like,
Yeah.
even that went away after
But
a
the
while.
whole TV thing, the whole like Google Maps thing, where you're supposed to be able to go to places like virtually and like look around with the gamepad, they decided to like charge you money for that. It's like,
yeah.
so look, after all the Wii U and just having covered Nintendo now for like 20 years, like people are probably going to be freaking out over the NX. And I'm going to be a little lukewarm on it probably because like the promises have been squandered so many times at this point that I just look at their hardware now with trepidation. And a lot of
You can only
promises
kick
that
me
may
in the
not be-
balls so often until I instinctively do that.
Or put a cup on,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like,
let's see what else. Cloud saves. Welcome to the
welcome
21st century,
yeah.
Nintendo.
very 2005 of you.
But
I mean,
that's
I mean,
still-
at least the My Nintendo thing is actually up and running at this point.
Yeah.
Like Mitomo sort of like kickstarted you into that. And boy, did that drop off the face of the earth after a week.
Big first week, and then it just
Number
fell off the
one,
face
and
of
I
the
think it was
earth.
like 43 the second week or something. People just walked away from it because there's nothing to do.
Yep. But cloud saves are finally coming. Look, you're right. They're way behind the curve, but at least it's coming. At least according
And
to
to
these
me,
numbers.
that says, the handheld is part of the console. Like it means you can play this thing on the go, and the save gets shared between the handheld and the console. Like that's the only thing that makes sense there to me. Is like, your save goes with you, basically.
It's still nice though, because if like something happens to your console,
Oh,
like
yeah.
what happened to my PlayStation 4, where it's just rendered as a doorstop.
And
You'll
of
get your
all
saves
the
back.
and all the companies, Nintendo's the one that's had the most problems. Was back when if your DS got stolen, you had to like call them and send them a copy of the police report, so that they would like reinstall transfer your account to the new one.
Yeah. I would contend actually that game saves are more valuable than anything.
Yeah,
More
'cause that's your
valuable than the console, more valuable than the controllers, more valuable than anything.
Yeah.
Like you don't realize it until you lose them. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, oh crap, that is hundreds. Remember, I don't know if you remember or not, but at X-Play, I brought in my GameCube one time, and I had the import of the Master Quest for Ocarina of Time. And we were trying to capture footage, and we had an intern do it. And I had just got, I don't know if you remember, like the original memory cards for the GameCube were really small and held like nothing. And I had just got the memory card 251 or whatever, the black one, that held like
everything,
like at least like 100 megs of data.
Amazing.
And our intern, because that disc was an import, and my GameCube has an import switch on it. So I tell him, I'm like, flip the switch, put the disc in, it'll play. Well, he does that, and it starts to play. The problem is when it first booted up, the first thing it asked him was, do you want to format your memory card? and it was in Japanese, and he had no idea, and he selected yes and wiped 3 or 4 years of GameCube saves off of my for gone forever.
Oh, the Rogue Leader gold medals.
All of it.
No.
All of it gone, man. Like, I was so sick that day. And that was the first time I realized, like, the value of saves. And then when this happened with my PlayStation 4, that was the second time where I was like, there's nothing more important than my save data. Nothing. So I'm very happy to hear the saves are going to the cloud. And hopefully it'll be somehow backwards compatible so you can send your Wii U saves up into the cloud and all that stuff. So we'll see. And then the final sort of rumor point is that, and something we've all guessed by now, is that you'll be able to choose your gender for Zelda U, which now also they're saying is definitely coming to both.
I think everybody knew that was probably going to happen.
Well, I think everybody knew it was going to happen when they debuted what we're looking at right now, which is Linkle.
Right.
Once I saw Linkle, that was pretty much signed, sealed, delivered.
That was clearly you're warming us up for the idea of a female Link.
Oh, yeah. So. I mean, and look, she got her own trailers, and, like, you know, she's in the 3DS version, but you can also play as her in the Wii U version. I mean, I'm fine with this.
Yeah.
Like, I think because of the way Nintendo
Link's a blank slate.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Like, honestly...
And every time it's a different person. Like, you know, it's a reincarnation or whatever of the hero of time, so...
I mean, honestly, Link, as he is, could be a girl anyway. It's not like he's got a bulge in his tunic. Right. Like, he looks... I mean, he could really be a guy or a girl anyway. Does Linkle really look all that different from Link other than she's wearing, like, a skirt? No. Like, not really.
And again, you know, I think, you know, since the Link has such zero characterization, outside, I mean, the Wind Waker version, I guess, has some personality, but at least because of facial expressions. Yeah. But in general, it's like he's such a blank slate that why not? Like, especially if it makes you know female or other whoever like feel better or feel more at home if they get to play a female version of that character. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with it. The other thing is voice acting is coming to the game.
Finally,
not to Link.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Nintendo will use the excuse of, well, since people could choose between a male or a female Link.
Yeah, I have 2 words for you. Mass Effect.
Yeah, like, oh, you mean you'd have to record a voiceover twice?
No.
Oh, no.
You bring Jennifer Hale in as female Link, then I'll play that every single time.
And look, that's a very polarizing topic. Should Link speak or not? It's been discussed many times. It'll be discussed many more times.
I don't care. I mean,
really?
I mean, I would accept it either way. I'm fine with him being kind of the blank slate. I'm also fine if Link talks one way or the other.
I was okay with him not talking until Skyward Sword.
Yeah, he kind of needed to talk in that game. That's right.
Well, he did. Like, his jaw was, like, flapping.
Oh, and then Zelda would react to what she said. Yeah.
It was just so weird. It was like, to me, that was the flag getting planted into the ground of, like, it's time. Like, if you guys want to go this far, and you, as developers, are starting to see the limitations of your lead character never speaking, that you found this god-awful compromise.
The thing about the voice acting that makes me wonder is, like, what's the world going to be like in this game? Because there's one thing I've really, and I noticed it before, obviously, but, like, having played Ocarina and Majora's Mask recently on the 3DS and the Twilight Princess remaster, and to some degree Wind Waker, you forget, like, starting with Ocarina of Time, all the characters in the Zelda games that are not Zelda, Link, and Ganon or Ganondorf, they're all really fucking strange.
They're all ugly
too. Why are those worlds such nightmares?
When
you like the crazy mask salesman guy and like the crazy post office guy who's like no.
They're like a bad acid trip.
You're like, what is going on? Everybody's got like these giant weird pointy ears and like some of them are like orange and shit.
Some would say that it's just bad art.
Some, but it's like it seems like so intentional and like and it's like unsettling and strange in a way that
Tingle, look at Tingle. Oh, what the hell?
In a way that like it's unsettling in a way that like the original few weren't. Like Link to the Past doesn't have that.
Definitely.
And I'm like,
well, 2D, 3D.
And so like when you say voice acting, I'm trying to picture like like the Mario and Luigi fake guys at Lon Lon Ranch being voiced. And I'm like, I don't even know how you do that without making it either nightmarish or like bad. I wonder, like, do you like change your approach to dialogue and storytelling in this game?
Here's what I would say: I'd
to make
be more
it
than
more
confident
believable?
if another AAA developer was doing it. But Nintendo literally has like zero experience working with voiceover. Is like voice
I've had
acting.
Charles Martinet saying like 2 lines for Mario per game for years.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they have no experience of recording it, implementing it into games, let alone like dynamic dialogue. Like,
Hello.
I mean, it's really, they're just sound effects and sound bites is all that they've used all this time. Like,
Well, it's Star Fox. Star Fox has voice acting. It's always had voice acting. Well,
Yeah.
it didn't in Super Nintendo, but Star Fox 64 they were fully voiced.
yeah, but there's a difference
And
between like
to this
saying
day
"Do
we
a
make
barrel roll.
Yeah, but to this day we make fun of those lines. It's
Right.
iconic.
Yeah, you just kind of made my point for me. Let's see, anything else? No, I think we've covered all of
Yeah,
the
because the other voice acting Nintendo game I think of is Other M, and like none of that's helping.
Yeah, that's not backing up the case either. So yeah, I mean, next week will we see another bundle of rumors? That's a lot for 1 week
I don't
right
know.
there.
It's really getting to be time to just like pull the lid off here,
Yeah.
boys.
Well, I
Like,
mean, look, in a month and a half, 2 months, they
Yeah.
will.
but it's just like like everyone's getting all these preconceived notions about what it's going to be and what this is and which one's true and which one's not true, and you got to wonder at a certain point if you let all this build up enough of a head of steam, when you finally unveil what it is, everyone's going to be disappointed.
Well, either that or
Because-
Nintendo knows that people are not going to be disappointed.
Yeah,
It
it's
knows what
possible.
it has, and it's like people are going to flip their lids over this. So I'm almost at the point now where the fact that Nintendo isn't saying anything is encouraging. Because I feel like you're right. Like, if the message was starting to get so far out of bounds or so negative, like it was with the controller, like people were like, oh my god, if that's the controller, what a disaster. Like, the fact that Nintendo never commented on that, to me, is a really positive sign. Because if it was feeling a little uneasy, or maybe if their idea was kind of close to that, you might have seen them being like, hey, like, you don't comment on rumors or speculation or whatever, but they were just like stone cold silent on that. So that leads me to believe that it may have something pretty cool.
I hope.
I always think Nintendo stuff is cool at first.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, I can think of 5 different games I'd love to play on the Wii U right now, but they never made it.
Yeah.
Even like
A Metroid game?
a Metroid game would be good.
Good one.
By the way, like the concept of like the Metroid game where like you have the different point of view for shooting the missiles, like that controller is right there for you if you want to do that.
Yeah.
But you never had to leave the normal viewpoint on the main screen. And then, I mean, Penny Arcade did a very early strip with when the Wii U was announced, where it was like 3 guys playing a D&D style dungeon crawler kind of game with the Wii controllers, and then the Wii U guy, like one player with the Wii U controller is like the dungeon master and like throwing traps and monsters in their way, and he's like, you can have that one for free, you're welcome. It's like they never did anything like that. The asymmetrical multiplayer potential of that system is insane, especially because you can do it all on the same couch.
Yeah.
And like they
touched it.
never did anything with it.
That's what I said. I always get excited about Nintendo stuff first, and then eventually over time it just dwindles when it doesn't get realized. So hopefully it's different this time. It needs to be different this time for Nintendo's sake.
Yeah.
Especially if the NX is all in one and they don't have that handheld money to fall back on anymore. They have a lot of money in the bank, but it'll go quick. So.
And it's ridiculous. Like the most exciting thing that's happened Nintendo-wise this year for me is that Link to the Past finally came out on the Virtual Console on my 3DS today.
Just today,
Like
yeah.
that was. I'm like, yes! I'm like it's a 25-year-old game, and that's what I'm most excited about that you've done this year.
Yeah.
That's bad.
But fair.
You still got $8 out of me, but like.
And you probably paid for that game like 2 other times before.
Yeah.
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 All right, let's move on to the last topic of the Big Six, Battleborn. So, Battleborn is a MOBA shooter hybrid. A lot of people, I feel like, probably get this game confused with Overwatch, which is Blizzard's kind of MOBA take on the shooter, but nowhere.
Much less so.
Oh, much less so. Much less
Like
so.
Overwatch's MOBA-ness is more in the sense that it has a lot of characters that are very, very different from each other.
It's like the aesthetic of it.
Yeah.
More than
Whereas
anything.
this is like
Literally.
the meltdown mode in this is a MOBA.
It is straight up a MOBA, yeah. The first thing I would say about this game And look, the open beta is going on right now, so I'm sure a lot of sifters have played it. If you're wondering whether you should play it, hopefully we can help you figure out if it's worth your hard drive space or not for this weekend.
Oh, just play it.
The first thing
Find out for yourself.
The first thing I would say is that the characters in this game are terrible. Mm-hmm. Like, we talked about this before when we were talking about Overwatch, about how Blizzard is so great at creating, like, these entities as characters and these people that generate merchandise and cosplay and all this other stuff around it. And Overwatch's characters are incredible. Like, I remember pretty much every one of them. Having played this game for 5 or 6 hours, I can remember a couple of the characters in this game. I don't know if it's the art style. I don't even think it's the art style. There's no style to these characters. Nothing that unifies them together, in my opinion.
They all look like rejects from other games.
Yeah.
They don't seem like they all belong in the same world.
Yeah, there's no unifying character.
Whereas Overwatch is not like that. Overwatch feels like they're all from the same world. They're just all very different.
Yeah. Well, they have different powers, but they feel like they're from the same universe.
Right.
These characters, you're right. They almost look like rejects from a bunch of other video games. There's nothing cannot remember a single iconic character.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I played as. Here's the thing. I was like, I gotta remember the name of the guy I played. I remember the guy I played as the samurai guy with the red laser sword things.
Yeah.
I have no idea what his name is.
Yeah. Like, I don't remember any of their names.
I can't remember.
I played with one character for 3 hours last night. I can't remember its name right now.
I played as him, and I played as the mushroom healer character. Like, that was I thought that was hard to play as.
I played a lot as the character you're seeing right now. And I played as, like, the merc guy with the machine gun. Again, I can't remember his name at all.
Neither can I.
So that's the first thing I would say. The characters in this game are just not memorable. Period. Mm-hmm. But here's the other thing I would say about this game. I liked it less the more I played it. The first 2 matches I played of this game, I was like, holy crap, what's wrong with people? This game is flipping awesome. Why are people so down on this game? And then I played the 3rd match, and I was like, I didn't really enjoy that so much the 3rd time. And then the 4th time, I didn't really like it at all. I think my biggest problem with it is that you can't follow what the hell is going on in this game. There is so much crap going on. Like, not even just, like, in the systems, but like literally on the screen. Yeah. Like when you get to the choke point on the lane.
That's why playing as the healer is so hard, because like the particle effects and everything gets so crazy. It's really hard to tell who you're healing sometimes.
I will say one thing: this engine is really impressive.
Oh, it's very
because
strong.
The amount of crap that happens on screen at a given time, and it never buckles.
No, I mean big stuff too.
Huge,
like
explosions,
things.
like. It's amazing, but it all gets lost. Because like, especially at the choke points, when you have your minions marching as an army into the choke point, they have their minions marching towards you, and then there's like 5 or 6 players in that mix, and everyone's firing off their... It is just... Right there, look at that. How can you make head or tails of like any of it? It's like... I couldn't figure out... I was just shooting blindly into, like, particle effects, basically, half the time I played this game. Looking for the numbers to pop up so I know I was hitting something.
There was also, like, the weird thing where, like... I feel like you're really supposed to play it like a MOBA.
Oh, yeah, you are. Nobody does.
Nobody does. Everyone's just, like, running ahead. I'm like, no, you gotta kill the creeps. Or the even I know that. I don't play these games.
Nobody plays it like a MOBA. But, look, that's the problem, is, like, expecting people who play MOBAs... to come over and play a shooter is insane. Yeah. They don't... First of all, people who play MOBAs only play MOBAs.
They've already
usually.
got their game. They're playing their game.
Well, it's not even just that. Like, to be good at a MOBA, you almost... Any spare time you have playing games, you have to play the MOBA. Like, expecting them to be like, well, I like League of Legends, so I'm going to play the shooter. Like, no, that's not going to happen.
Right. Well, it's like, oh, you should love MOBAs because they're like fighting games. I'm like, well, yeah, in the sense you have to devote your life to learning how to be good at it, but it's not like
exactly.
My fighting game skills are going to translate to that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the same, similar kind. It's just a totally different genre. Here, I didn't like it from the beginning.
Oh, really? You didn't like it at all from the start?
I played a couple matches of the Meltdown mode, and then I also played the first episode of the story, of the campaign mode.
I played both of both.
And I felt, I just felt it was super floaty, and I didn't feel like I was in contact with the ground. I didn't quite get where my melee attacks connected with the enemy. Like I didn't feel like there was a lot of like feedback. The world didn't feel solid to me when I was
There's like
interacting
no
with things.
aim assist in this, like none. Not that I could detect. Did you sense any?
There's an aim assist option in the menu, in the preferences, but I didn't activate
Normally,
it. Because I was using melee weapons, so I figured it wouldn't matter.
Normally, I hate aim assist, but I actually feel like it would be very helpful in this.
I saw an aim assist like checkbox or something.
I should probably look into that then.
But like it just felt weird and floaty, and like I didn't, and I was like, haven't been paying attention to like the online response, and I was kind of worried after I'm like, God, I didn't really like that. I hope I don't want to go on a show and be like, oh, I hate this game, and everyone's like, oh, you suck, and I looked up online, and everyone's like, oh, everyone doesn't like it. Like, kind of like they don't all dislike it for the same reason I didn't like it, but it's just like everyone seems to have their own personal problem with this game, and I'm like.
And here's the other thing too: is that MOBAs are really complicated.
Yeah.
Like it takes a long time, not just to like learn how to play, but to learn like what you should be doing and when you should be doing it. This game doesn't give you any guidance at all. Like I don't know if the final box product will have a crazy tutorial. But if you're supposed to learn on the fly using the in-game tools that they give you, it is crazy, dude. Mm-hmm. Like, so this game is really kind of a cross between Heroes of the Storm, a shooter, obviously,
right,
and League of Legends. So, just like Heroes of the Storm, like one thing that Heroes of the Storm does differently from League of Legends is it has like these little things called encampments that you can go to as a team or by yourself if you're good enough, and you can like take out the encampment. And once you do that, it will like give you enemies to fight on your side, like bots basically, that will come out of the encampment, join up, and then start going down the lane and take your side. Well, this game has it too, but like nobody knows that it has it, and even if they do, you don't know where they are. Like
it's a good lesson in why MOBAs have their viewing angle where it is.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Like, the map in this game could be like, a map is so huge in a MOBA. Like, it is more... Yeah. Once you get over the hump of playing it, you basically stare at the map. Like, your eyes are darting back and forth from the gameplay to the map, gameplay to the map, gameplay to the map, constantly when you play a MOBA. And this map is so small and limited, you can't see the whole battlefield. So you can't see, oh my god, 3 of their guys are over in the bot lane, like, wrecking our turret right now. Like, there's some vocal samples that fire off that says, your turret's under attack. It's like, well, where is it? Like, show me where the damn turret is that's being attacked so I can go over there and try to defend the turret.
I kept thinking about, I don't know if you remember the game Savage.
No.
Or it was similar. It was like an RTS, like, third-person or first-person shooter. I think you could be either one. But one player played it like an RTS. Like, there was a captain of the team, and they could like click wherever they wanted you to go, and you didn't have to go there. But the idea was if you trust the commander, like they're clicking over here, and a big giant light appears on your screen as someone like on the ground level, and you all run to that thing and you do what you need to do, and you had to hold the attack button like to build things. You were literally an RTS minion basically. Right. And, like, I felt like this would benefit from that, from having, like, a commander that could kind of see the whole situation and give you some kind of guidance as a team.
It just seems like a mess. The competitive multiplayer seems like a mess. And again, full
and the
disclosure,
campaign feels like a bunch of deleted scenes from Borderlands.
So actually, let's talk about the campaign. Let's shift gears and move on to the campaign. So here's what you kind of hit a nail on the head, though. To me, the campaign is Borderlands.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I'm surprised that you hate it. Did you hate Borderlands?
No, I like Borderlands.
Because here's the thing. I didn't like Borderlands, but I liked the campaign in Battleborn more than the multiplayer in Battleborn.
Well, see, I just don't like the way Battleborn feels when I play it. So it's like all of a sudden there's not enough like visual and like feedback to when I'm losing my shield, and when I'm all of a sudden like I'll go into the fray and I'll be like hitting things, and all of a sudden like, oh, my shield has been gone and I'm halfway down my life bar, and like the only reason I know that is because the screen's starting to turn a little bit red.
Yeah.
But I'm already Battleborn when Borderlands, when you lose your shield, there's a poof. Like there's a real noticeable visual cue.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
When that happens, and so I know, I gotta get the hell back.
Yeah.
And like there's nothing like that in this game.
Well, there are, but they're really subtle, and a lot of the cues are just audio cues. And like there are, like, you'll see scratch marks on your screen if you're getting attacked from the right. Like the scratch marks will show up on your right. Like there are the cues, but you're right, they're nowhere near where they need to be.
So I enjoyed like the writing, and like when Patrick Warburton was like, or maybe it was it was Patrick Warburton as the boss, where he's the giant, he's a giant mech, but he decided he's the king of the giant spiders that day, so the big bad guy decides he has to humor him, so he's pretending to be a spider.
Yeah.
And like that was funny, but like the third time I had to go and like activate the fumigation pads to like to convince him he was dying because there was a poison, even though I'm just like, look, it's a funny situation, but I don't need to do it 4 times. Like it just got old to me. But
that to me was kind of Borderlands. I mean, that's why I didn't enjoy Borderlands.
But I just felt like I had a much better time playing Borderlands, I guess, because the character in Borderlands I had made that character my own in a way that just isn't here in this game. And like you have the upgrades and you have the augments you can do as you level up. But it's not, you don't get to choose your play style in the same way. And I guess, there's a lot of characters I'm sure I'd find someone that I liked better. But, like...
That's the other thing I don't like about this game, at least from a MOBA perspective, is the lack of flexibility in your build. Mm-hmm. So your build is, like, a big thing in MOBAs. Yeah. And basically it's like, you pick the items and the weapons that you want to use, and, like, each one has different effects. And, like, here, with every level, you have a binary choice. You get to choose between one or the other, and usually the choices are very similar to each other. Like, it's a buff, and one, like, gives, like, your grenades more power. The other one may give, like, the grenade, like, a wider explosion, like, radius or whatever. They're not, like, completely, like, you can't, like, completely create your own unique build in the game. And that's a big part of a MOBA, is, like, messing around with everything and trying to find this build that can work against specific characters, or just work in a specific lane or whatever. Like, there's just not enough flexibility in it. I feel like this game is just like a jack of all trades and a master of none. And usually when you create something like that, your game is going to be doomed because it's never good enough to ensnare fans of any of those genres. The shooter fan is going to be like you. It's floaty. It doesn't feel right. I don't feel like I'm attached to my character. The MOBA guy is going to be like, there's no flexibility in my builds. Like, almost every time you try to create a game like this, it mashes all this stuff up. It always ends up a flop because it's never good enough for the fans of whatever genre you're borrowing
I guess that's kind of the question this game made me ask was, does anyone want this?
Right.
I mean, even if you addressed all these issues and made that game, that perfect shooter MOBA, does anyone really want to play that?
I know.
Like, I don't know if I want to play that.
Look, I love shooters and I love MOBAs. And like I said, the first couple matches I played, I was almost like giddy. I was like, this is freaking awesome. This is like the two things I love.
It sounds like a really cool idea.
Smashed together. And like the first time I started running down a lane with my minions in front of me, I was like, damn, this is awesome. I was so excited. And then even by the end of that, the other thing too is the matches last forever. Yeah. Like
that's all I had time for.
Like, right. The big thing about like Call of Duty is that you can sit down and in 10 minutes you're done.
Yeah.
Like worst case scenario, 10 minutes you're done. Usually you're done in like 5 to 6 minutes. This is like a commitment. You have no idea how long these matches are going to last either. And look, that is kind of endemic to MOBAs. Like some games of League of Legends last 22 minutes. Some of them last an hour and 10 minutes. Like that is one kind of drawback to the genre in general. But people go into MOBAs expecting that's how it works, and they know that's how it works. It's the same for Dota and any of them. When people play shooters, and look, most people are going to look at this game as a shooter. No one's going to... The average person who may or may not buy Battleborn thinks they're buying a shooter. Like, it's not like us, where, like, we know all the details about it, and we were on the beta, and we know what MOBAs are. Like, a lot of people that play shooters don't even know what the hell a MOBA is. Like, they're like, oh, that's like that weird thing on ESPN or whatever. So... most people are going to buy this thinking it's a shooter. And they're going to be like, holy crap, what the hell is this? Like, can't I just go kill everybody? Like, isn't that what I'm supposed to do? It's a shooter.
No. You can't even just go kill one of the minions.
They're huge bullet sponges, man.
Yeah, and I mean, in the MOBA mode, that's one thing, because, like, that's just how it works.
But that's not, though. Like, even in, like, League of Legends or Dota, like, a minion generally takes, like, 3 shots to go down. Like... You don't sit there, like, unloading on a minion to take a minion. That's why they're minions. Like, they're just fodder to help you build your level. Like, you're supposed to be what's called farming is what it's called. Like, there's no farming in this game. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, whether you come at it from a MOBA perspective or a shooter perspective, you're going to be like, but it's not blah, blah, blah. And I just feel like, again, it's like caught in the middle, and it's not good enough on either end to appeal to either audience. And is there an audience for the middle of MOBA and shooter? I don't think so. Like,
Probably not enough.
not enough. Like,
All I can say is, like, I didn't care about this game before I played it, and I still don't.
hype level down.
And look, there's only so much room in my life for multiplayer shooters right now, and this did nothing to convince me that I should play this instead of Overwatch.
Yeah, I'm really
when the
disappointed.
time comes.
Because I was really excited when I first... Because that was the thing about Overwatch, is people would mention it was like MOBA-like or MOBA Lite or whatever, and when I played it as someone who
Team
plays
Fortress,
it... Yeah.
I think.
And as somebody who does play MOBAs, like, I went to play it, and I was like, this isn't like a MOBA. Like, the people who are saying that don't know what the hell they're talking
There could
about.
theoretically be a MOBA like mode they put in one day.
Right.
I mean, they could do it.
They
I
could,
think.
totally. I mean, the tools are there to do it. But then this one, that's why I got so excited when I first started playing, because I was like, this is a MOBA shooter. Like, holy crap. Like, this could be like the most awesome thing I've played this year. Why are people so down on this game? And then, over time, there's just...
And I didn't want to be, because it's like, I actually like Gearbox's stuff for the most part.
I mean, look, this is a quality game too, by the way. Like,
not Colonial Marines, but like, I like Gearbox's kind of general sense of humor. I like all the Borderlands games. I have nothing against them at all. I like what they do for the most part, but this just doesn't grab me at all.
Look, it's a quality game. It is very polished. You can see they probably spent a lot of time focus grouping the characters. They failed doing it, but I'm sure they spent a ton of money on every part of this game. You can see it. Like, it's not some schlaggy, like, indie game.
It just doesn't scratch the itch for me as a shooter fan, and it doesn't scratch the itch for me as someone who dabbles in MOBA.
It just doesn't work.
So,
I mean, I guess that's really what it comes down to. It was probably a cool idea at the time. It just doesn't work. And look, we've only played...
It could.
A couple maps, a couple modes.
I'm not saying this is, like, doomed forever. Like, with enough work, it could be something.
They need to delay this game, is what they need to do. They need to delay it. I hope the feedback that they get is what I just shared, and they realize they need to simplify it more. Like, I mean, the big problem is that you just can't figure out what the hell's going on. It's too much. Like, nobody, like, before this game starts is saying, I got top lane, I got bot lane, I got mid, I got jungle. Like, there's none of that. There's no team coordination, although it kind of forces you to do it a little bit because you can't pick two of the same characters. But there's no coordination beforehand. It's like someone's like, I'm a medic, or I'm the assault guy. Like, it's just... And the result is that everybody just goes in, and it's a big battle royal that you just can't even tell what the hell is going on half the time. So, I don't know. I mean, look, it's not tracking great already. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens after this beta, after everyone has had a chance to play it. And I hope people do share their opinions with Gearbox. And I hope that they mirror my impressions.
I hope they agree with me.
Exactly. Which is probably a little selfish. But, all right, that's going to wrap up our Battleborn discussion. Be interested. Obviously, a lot of you guys are probably playing it right now. So I'm interested to hear your take on it in the comments or in the live chat right now. We are going to go to our trailer of the week. As I mentioned earlier, it is the debut trailer for Gears of War 4. I've never seen this before, Matt. That a game has been announced for almost a year.
Yep.
Almost a year.
10 months.
All we had before this was the gameplay demo from E3, which granted was a pretty beefy demo, but no polished trailers until now. Here is the first trailer for Gears of War 4. Also, get your questions in right now so we can peruse them while we're watching the trailer. Here we go.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Because the visions of me left its scenes while I was sleeping. Still
Interesting song choice there, Matt.
Yeah.
You were just sharing an anecdote during the trailer.
Yeah, that I don't know if you can really pull that off after these sad Affleck meme.
Yeah. Which is great,
in
by the way.
recent weeks, which has been taken down.
How
by the
can
way.
you take down a meme?
They took down the original video, which was made by I think it was Betty from NeoGaf.
Oh, really?
Made the original video.
Really? Someone from NeoGaf made that original
Yeah,
meme?
it came from NeoGaf.
Wow.
NeoGaf, Internet NeoGaf. And he or she, I don't know, made a thread yesterday or the day before that said it's been taken down. Like they couldn't like stop it from happening, so that got taken down. But all the permutations of it, including the Dark Souls version,
right, yeah.
still up.
Yeah.
All that's
You can't delete a meme. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Kudos to NeoGaf though for creating that. That was brilliant stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it was great. It was flawless.
It really was, yeah. But you're right. It did
in the big December roundup of best memes of 2016. It'll be in there. No
and
question.
I'm sure too that the studio who made this trailer is watching those memes go around, and they're like, "No, no."
We already paid so much money for this.
Oh, Microsoft and the studio who probably lobbied to use that song.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh god,
in conjunction, because it's number 6 on Billboard right now. Because
is it?
Because of
the meme.
I don't know if it's because it might be partly, but I think it's mainly because the Disturbed cover is
right.
number 1. So
right.
I think Disturbed has pulled up the original Simon and Garfunkel version.
Wait, that Disturbed cover is number 1 on the Billboard charts? Good lord.
It is the end times, my friend.
It really is. All right, let's see if we got any questions here. Let's see. Here's one from Geno Mike 1. Skyrim this year? What do you think Bethesda's big game announcement will be this year?
Well, Elder Scrolls, not Skyrim, I think. But,
yeah, it won't be like Skyrim 2, but yeah, the new Elder Scrolls are due, definitely.
I'd be shocked if they didn't mention it, at least.
And maybe coming out in the next 5 months.
Maybe. I don't. You could. It's about the right timing. You can't just go up there and give me another freaking Elder Scrolls Online expansion.
No.
I mean, you got to give me something here, boys.
I think you're right. I think it's going to be the next Elder Scrolls game, though.
Elder Scroll. What was it? 6? Maybe 6.
6. Yeah. But it won't be Skyrim 2.
No, it'll be another continent or some other place.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind going back to Morrowind personally, but.
Here's one, percentage.
I tried to pronounce that last week.
Yeah, we're totally murdering your name. Maybe type it out phonetically so we'll get it right next week.
Is it German or French? I don't know. We're Americans. We don't speak other languages. We don't know
exactly. Coming into E3, what could be the nightmare scenarios for Sony and Microsoft? What could Sony do to lose its lead on Microsoft at
Nothing. I don't see
at
how
counter
that happens.
Microsoft to overtake Sony. There's nothing it can do at this point.
I guess Microsoft could somehow buy all of Sony's exclusives from them. I don't know.
Microsoft could just buy the PlayStation brand from Sony.
Yeah.
That would be about it.
Like a tactical nuclear strike on Sony headquarters. I don't see any way for them to catch up at this point.
I don't either. A nightmare scenario for Sony. I don't know if there would be one. I mean, they've already had bad, like PlayStation VR tanked in the one demo last time. That's already happened. No one batted an eyelash.
I don't really see. There's not a whole lot of stuff up for risk taking with Sony this year. I mean,
if the new
PlayStation VR has already been shown,
is $599.
Well, yeah,
that could be a mistake.
But at the same time, you still got the normal PlayStation 4 to fall back on.
But what if they do the old PlayStation 4 stays at that price? If you want the hype one, you need to spend $600.
Yeah.
That's a possibility.
Could happen.
And that might be a nightmare scenario.
I don't know if it's a nightmare scenario, but it would definitely be disappointing.
Actually, a nightmare scenario for Microsoft is easy. Basically, if it just showed like the same 5 franchises again at E3, that would be a nightmare scenario because it's really Xbox One is like teetering on the brink right now.
I think for me the nightmare scenario for Microsoft like you don't show anything that I can't play on anything else, And I feel like they're not doing that anymore. There's no, if you have a powerful enough PC, it's almost like they're saying like, why do you have an Xbox One?
Yeah.
Because I want to play Scalebound, but there's a Windows 10 version of that coming. I want to play Gears of War 4, but apparently there's a Windows 10 version of that coming. Is it, what
But I
do
don't
you
even know
got?
if that's a nightmare scenario, though, because that's
Seems to be what they want.
That's a strategy that Microsoft would follow. It's not something that they hope would go over well that didn't. Like, I think they know that Xbox One owners would freak out if they did that. So if they were to do it, they would know going in that the result was going to be bad.
But then they've still got kind of the issue of like Sweeney and those guys saying it's like we have to stop them. What they're doing is going to ruin everything. I don't know. They need to get everybody on the same page somehow, and they don't seem to have. No one seems to understand what they're doing exactly.
No. But you are right. Like, it would be a nightmare scenario for them to come out of E3 and have no exclusive roster of Xbox One games. Mm-hmm. But then, to me, that would be what I was saying earlier coming to pass, which is this is the last Xbox. We don't really care. We lost. Mm-hmm. We've sold X million units out. They're out there. People are going to buy games for it. That's cool. People can buy them on PC. We're cool with that, too. I wouldn't be surprised if they ditched the whole get the free PC code with the Xbox One version.
Yeah, maybe that didn't work out so well this time.
But I think that's an easy... And he didn't ask about Nintendo's nightmare scenario, so I don't even know if we should go into that.
Nintendo's already living their nightmare scenario.
It's been living it for the last 3 years.
They can only wake up at this point, frankly.
Yeah. I mean, just quickly, I would say nightmare scenario would be if the NX controller looked like the fake one. That would be a nightmare scenario, I think.
Yeah.
If the leak ended up, like, obviously it wasn't real.
But
similar if
thing.
that patent were real, ultimately, and that's what the NX controller looks like, that would be a nightmare scenario, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That would be, it's like if it turned out like the rumors were true, that would be pretty bad.
Yeah. Oh, he says it's French.
French.
Snowpiercer, what?
Oh, it's the French version, the title for Snowpiercer.
Ah, gotcha. There you go.
Because that was a French comic book originally.
Let's see. Any other questions? What if Xbox... This is from Evusin. What if Xbox 2 just becomes a Windows 10 machine with an update? Would the install base of the OS count as beating Sony?
I think that depends how the games are selling more than how many people are using Windows 10.
He brings up a good point, though.
Yeah.
It's that how do you look at that?
Yeah.
Because
I think you look at
how do you measure who wins or loses? Is it how much hardware is out there, or is it how much software you sell?
Well, if you're doing discrete boxes, I think it's how much hardware is out there, because then you're talking about your potential sale base. But like, if they switch to Xbox being just like a Windows box, a Windows 10 box rather, like there's a lot of people who have Windows 10 that are never going to buy a video game for it. Yeah. So you have to then start measuring whose games are selling more. Like basically, at that point Microsoft sort of steps away from the console race in that regard, and you start looking at like, well, did Uncharted 5 sell more, or did Gears of War 6 sell more?
The hardware landscape's changing. You talk to PAC's like next gen's probably the last one for consoles. I mean, say what you will about that, but
then what does Sony do?
Well, then what do fanboys talk about? Then it goes to software
Then
sales,
the NVIDIA and Radeon wars really heat up again.
Yeah, exactly. So that's actually a pretty insightful question. Good one. Carl Carlson, isn't it selling better than the 360 did in the same time frame? I think that was the case for the first year, but I'm wondering if that's starting to slip away now at this point.
Yeah, I don't know what the numbers are.
I would imagine it's getting pretty close to 360 numbers at this point, because it has slowed down significantly from the first 18, 24 months. So,
M. Greeley asks, what are Pactor's E3 parties like?
They're not crazy. There's not strippers or anything there.
They're usually in a very nice place.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of has it in the same place every year. It's up on the 20th floor.
Yeah,
it's up pretty high.
Way up.
And in the place he has it, it has glass like all the way around, so you can kind of see out over the whole city. It's a nice spot. Yeah. And
it's very good for impressing people who aren't from here.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you're like,
which is
downtown.
Probably what he's doing.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what all those venues are for.
Right, and there's no DJs or anything. They have like a little, like last year they had like a lounge band that performed for a little bit.
Years ago I got a really nice Razer mouse.
Yeah. You get gift bags when you leave. Like, I don't know if you've seen in the back of the shop before, but I have like a PlayStation 4 controller charger, and I got that at PAX Party last year. So, but yeah, I mean, it's mostly people just standing around talking, to be honest. It's just a chance
it's
for...
free drinks and it's like, I mean, at this point we know
everybody
all
there.
these people for almost 2 decades, so it's like, it's, after a day of E3, it's kind of a chance to like sit around and talk about what everybody's seen and kind of what they like and what they're seeing tomorrow. And
it's really just a catch up because people that we know are scattered all over the place, and like you only really
you're lucky if you see like anyone on the floor.
Yeah, and so you finally get to kind of see them all at this one place, and it's like anymore. That's really the one chance I have to see everybody at E3 because I don't really go to a ton of parties anymore. So I just always make sure I go to PAX, but. It's not like some crazy like rager or anything. A lot of the people that are there are older and...
Man, I wish PAX had got Huey Lewis to play his party. That would be amazing.
Huey Lewis in the news.
I would go to that twice. I'm from San Francisco. Huey Lewis is a local hero.
Here's one from Buck Wenna. If you could say you are a fanboy of one game dev, who would it be? Or which would it be as proper English?
Oh. If we want to go way back... to when Sega wasn't terrible, I would say Smilebit.
Yeah.
I love Smilebit. Currently, is there anyone that puts out... I like everything Sony Santa Monica puts out. I think they do really good work.
Yeah, and they have a wide breadth of games, too.
Yeah. And, I mean, like, there's a lot of, like I'm a big fan of Respawn, but they've only done one game.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Capybara, but they've only done one game.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff like that, I guess.
I don't really look up to any one studio. Back in the day, I would say Rare.
Classic Rare, for sure.
Classic Rare was just beast mode. Like, every game they put out was just amazing, and it was a lot of them were always different. Like, they were really good at creating a variety of genres, but they always nailed it. You always knew the quality was going to be there in a Rare game, and that has definitely slipped.
Yeah.
That started with Perfect Dark Zero, by the way. That was the first time my faith in Rare was just... Well, actually, no. Grabbed by the Ghoulies was the first... was the first Rare game that kind of shattered that for me. And now they've lost like all their great employees, and I'm really excited for Yooka-Laylee because a lot of those guys went over there. But classic Rare... Yeah, I would say that they were
like even the weird one-off stuff they did, like Blast Corps was.
No, Blast Corps was brilliant, man. Like everything they touched was just gold back then, man. So they earned it. But yeah, back in the day, I definitely had an affinity for Rare and Rare's games. So let's see. Do we have anything else? Here's one from
CD Projekt Red. Yeah, it's a good call. Dark Force 256.
That's a good one. Here's one last question from K. DeBolt. How do you guys feel about the Ratchet and Clank reboot? For a budget title, it seems to be getting fairly good reviews. With this and other games like Lucky's Tale in VR, do you think this bodes well for the resurgence of platformers? Great question.
I'm not surprised because I picked it for my fantasy team.
Yeah, it's been doing really well.
And that was the one you were like, I don't think that's a good one. I'm like, no, people love the Ratchet.
Yeah,
people love the furry bastard.
It is doing really well. Yeah, it's reviewing really high.
I think that game is right in the right sweet spot where the people reviewing it like were just the right age to love the originals, and there's some warm and fuzzy happening there. It should be because that game is gorgeous.
It is, yeah. We curated tons of reviews for that game. There was one review out of all of them where the author was like, "I've never played one." But I was actually surprised that there was one person that reviewed it that had never played it. I don't know if I've felt that old. Like, yeah. I was like, wait a minute. There's somebody,
any of them?
None of them. I was like, there's somebody working in this industry, writing reviews for a big publication who never played a Ratchet and Clank game.
That's almost like impressive. That's like you almost have to try.
I was just like, wow, I've been doing this way too long. My opinion of it is I think it's a missed opportunity. I would have much rather had a brand new Ratchet and Clank or a brand new game altogether from Insomniac.
But it's synergy with the movie. That's what it is.
No, I get it. I know why they did it. Like, it's a marketing tool for the movie. And look, it's not just a straight up like
No, it's
up-res. Like
it's not a remaster; it's a remake.
It's I don't even know what you would technically call
a remake, reboot,
remix almost.
Yeah, a little bit
Because there's weapons from recent games in there,
and also like there's story changes, there's planet changes. Ratchet is a very different character in it than he was in the original. I mean, it's a very different direction to start the series in.
Yeah, I think overall I would say as far as remasters or whatever the hell you want to call them at this point are concerned, I'm really impressed with it. Like, Insomniac definitely went more than the extra mile. Like, it went the extra, 5 miles. I mean...
Yeah, I'll throw Insomniac in that, developers I'm a fanboy of as well.
Yeah, I don't know. They've slipped a little bit lately, man.
Here and there, but I will defend Sunset Overdrive as one of my favorite games of this gen, and was horribly ignored.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That was what was it? They said Microsoft Quantum Break is the fastest selling new IP they've had this generation, and I'm like,
that's not
so
fair.
That out of what? And it turned out to be
2 games.
It turned out to be like Sunset Overdrive and 2 Xbox Live Arcade games I'd never even heard of, and I was like, oh, okay, well, good for Quantum Break, but
what was the shooter, the third-person shooter that Insomniac put out at the end of last gen?
Fuse.
That was
not
that
good.
shook my confidence in the studio.
Well, you can tell that I kind of blocked that one out a little bit. I don't know what the hell happened there.
I don't either, man. I don't get it.
Because remember, that was originally was Overstrike.
Yeah.
With a really cool cartoon
they ruined it.
And that art style kind of carried over a little bit to Sunset Overdrive to the point that the main guy in that original Overstrike trailer is in Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah. And that might just be a nod.
It's a nod, yeah. But I mean, he's like a beheaded scout leader or something.
But even Resistance, the first one was okay. By the third one, I was like, "What are you guys doing, man?"
The third one was. I would say the third one's the best.
Oh, well, it should be the third game, but
I think the Resistance 2 was the worst. I thought it went okay, and then 3 I think brought it back up.
I didn't like any of them all that much. I felt like pretty much all of them were overscored.
Well, that was also kind of from that period where Sony was between that and Killzone, and they're like, we're gonna outdo Halo if it kills us. I'm like, it's gonna kill you.
Yeah, it will kill you.
Just stop. Just don't even stop trying to make Killzone happen. And good, because they stopped trying to make Killzone happen, and now we're gonna get Horizon Zero Dawn, which is great.
Yeah, it's true. All right, I think that's it for the questions for this week's show. We do have some business to handle before we leave, though. If you guys remember from last week's episode, I went through and listed every single person who had become a Sifted Elite member. For those of you who don't know Sifted Elite, you donate $50 or more to our cause, and you get rewards. So the most obvious reward is you get a new avatar frame, and you get a new background color for all your posts on the site. We're working on some T-shirts, and there will be exclusive designs for those who are Sifted Elite. And so every week on the show, as we get new Elite members, we are going to call them out by name. Last week, the list was gigantic. Things have cooled off a little bit for this week, but we still have quite a few, so Sam, bring them up. So this week's brand new Sifted Elite members, Mike Zek. This guy even went on Twitter told me how to pronounce his name, and I'm still totally butchering it. My apologies. Mike Zek. Tortoise Eat Toes, Plant 42, Elric, Robert, Bentley, Gurzilla, Cubes the Camel. Thank you very, very much for donating $50 or more to Sifted. And now we have something very special. But before we move on...
Bravo.
Thank you.
Bravo.
All right, so... along the path over the last week or so, the Sifted Elite has launched. All you guys have been crazy generous, but there have been a few people who have gone above and beyond generosity. And I'm not going to share exactly how much money they donated, but just suffice to say that it was far more than the $50 that got them the Elite status. These people were really in it to win it. So this is what we're calling the Sifted Elite All-Stars. These guys donated well more than $50 to our cause. I cannot tell you how appreciative I was to see these donations come in from these people. They are all that and 5 bags of chips. And they are Solarkin, Jor, OMG, Mr. T, Wally, Nick, and Dyson XP.
All right, I think Solar Con, maybe. Con!
Thank you so much, guys. We really, really appreciate it. Yeah, I don't even know what else more I can say than that. It's just awesome that you guys have chipped in and
I have
tried
a lot
to help
of terrible
the site.
ideas for further donation goals, of course.
But yeah, we really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. And, some of you guys that donated like the big dollar amounts, you did it completely anonymously. None of you guys went in the comments and was like, well, I donated, blah, blah, blah. Like, you just did it out of the goodness of your heart. So thank you so much.
$599
For what?
Somebody just quoted
Oh,
me. I'm a sucker for a good $599 joke.
Yep, me too. I always will be. I'll never tell how much they donated. They can share it if they want to, but we do appreciate it. So, any last words, Matt?
No, I hold by my idea that you should make a really, 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 really ridiculously high donation tier that lets you change your background to plaid.
Bad idea.
Just to ruin everything for everyone.
Where's the bad idea buzzer on this thing? It's got to be here somewhere. I'll just use this.
It's gone to plaid.
Yeah. So that's going to do it. Let's see some housekeeping stuff. Platinum Journey. I know people have been asking, where the hell's the next episode of Platinum Journey? Well, I've been getting updates. Adam has stayed in touch with me. The show just is kicking his butt. But it is literally almost finished. It should be coming in the next week.
Because let me tell you, folks, someone who's done that TV thing for a long time with video games, no one guesses this or thinks this, but the strategy stuff, like, you remember, I don't know if anyone who used to watch XPlay used to see the cheat segments or the cheat show. Like, I worked on that for a while, too. Those are the longest production times. Those are the hardest segments to do because you have to do everything right and you have to actually get through the game and get to the parts and do all. A review is just like random footage half the time. But this is like, you have to really get in there and then you have to be good enough to do it and you have to do it multiple times so you have enough footage to like illustrate it. And this guy's going like full platinum. Like, that's crazy.
But that's also what makes the show great.
Because
he's
the end
really
result is worth it.
challenging himself, and so when you see the reactions when he succeeds, it's like legit. Right. It's not some canned like thing. So
that's why this is something I think we can't hold to a schedule. Really, it's the production time. The production commitment is astounding.
Yeah, and look, Adam, I think he misinterpreted like how long it's going to take because he had just been doing them on his own time before, and he's just like, when I get it done, I'll get it done. I'll put it on YouTube or whatever. And I just think he underestimated how long it was going to take him to get. And each game's different too. Yeah. Like, you could play a game and you just whiz right on through it. Just so happens
you get
that this
one trophy that just gives you fits.
Yeah. So it is coming. I'm thinking it will be here. I think honestly, I'm probably going to get it over this weekend. So hopefully Monday or Tuesday it will be live. So. The quiz show, still working on that. That has not been put into the trash bin. Just working on the whole logic and concepts and stuff behind that. So that is still in the works as well. So Star Fox Zero Game Eval coming up next week. So look for that. But other than that, I think we're ready to get up out of here. GameFace 45 is up and out.